Sounds good, brother. I'll get ready to start retweeting stuff.
All right, there's Thuglas. I'm going to pop up any minute now. There I am.
What up? What up?
Oh my goodness, it is the season premiere, season 2, the Unfiltered podcast. We're back after about a month hiatus. I've been concentrating on Crash Out Connoisseurs, which has been a crazy ride. And then just this past weekend, Doug, we passed over 100 subscribers.
Fuck yeah, dude. That's awesome.
One milestone down, many more to go. Drew Huntley, welcome in.
Hey, Drew.
We are here with the gospel of cool and chill. The Immortal Iron Thuglas himself.
You're the first person to ever call me that out loud. It sounds good. It's got a nice ring.
It does have a good ring to it. I like it. I like it. So
I totally back up Danny Rand in a street fight.
But no, Doug, welcome in. Hey, this is
thanks for having me.
This is season 2, episode 1. I never would have thought I would have gotten this far, to be honest with you. But Doug, you know what? It's almost like a brand new day. We got to introduce ourselves a little bit. So I'm going to give you the honors. So
okay,
the floor is yours, my friend.
You want me to introduce myself?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure you like long walks on the beach when there are beaches around, right?
Dude, I'm almost 300 pounds. I haven't walked in quite a while. It's been since last summer. I go by Douglas as a dope on Twitter, now formerly Twitter X, if you guys want to follow me. But basically, I'm a streamer. I hate it's weird to call myself a streamer because I have a regular job, but I do for the last 4 or 5 years since the beginning of the pandemic. I'd say summer 2020. I've been streaming in some form or fashion, and the main show that I'm known for is Sibling Revelry with my brother Paul. We started doing a show together with well, they're our friends, but they're more my friends than his, like, that I grew up with in Florida, John and Bob. We did a show called Brothers from Other Mothers, and it was basically it was fun. When the pandemic happened, it was really just a way for us to keep in contact with each other, with them living in Florida and my brother and I living up in Michigan. It was a way to just kind of keep connected and watch the world kind of like go slowly insane throughout that first summer. And eventually, it's hard to keep people on schedule and do things regularly. We kind of did similar. We did like season 1, and then we tried doing a season 2, but we just couldn't get ourselves together the way we did. And my brother and I loved doing it so much that we broke off and did a spin-off show called Brothers from the Same Mother, which became Sibling Revelry. And it really, Revelry is, if I remember correctly, my brother telling me the name, the idea behind the name was that revelry kind of means like you get together with your closest friends, your loved ones, and you have drinks. And in the beginning of the show, we just got hammered for hours and just said obscene things and had no format. And as time went on, we slowly grew a small fan. We started out with one person who would hang out with us every Saturday and chat. Shout out Kim. And then over time, like, we met people on Twitter. We both got on Twitter. We started meeting people, learning how to like utilize Twitter and meet people that have the same interests and shit. And slowly but surely, people started showing up. We don't. I mean, as long as we've been doing it, we only have like 358 subscribers, I think, on Rumble.
Sure.
Which, I mean, at this point, like, I don't even think about it. I'm just amazed that people show up. And over the course of doing it, I honestly believe the more numbers, the more view counts we get are based on like the guests we have. And most of the time, the guests that we have are people that like we both find interesting on Twitter that we meet. You and I met mutually through Squeeze. Squeeze is one of those guys that, like, that's where I stole the gospel of cool and chill. I stole it from Squeeze, but Squeeze connected me with a lot of people. Cornfed, Dalton, and Dave connected me with a lot of people. And then over time, like, I would start to grasp for straws. I'm like, well, fuck it. Like, I'm asking people that I follow on Twitter to like be guests. And just because I like getting to know people and I like having a good time with people who have similar interests, I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and like reach out. And I started asking people that I never thought in a million years would like want to be on. And we've been fortunate enough to have some like pretty well-known people. Like, we had the drummer for Coheed and Cambria, Josh Eppert, has come on our show. Alan, my favorite, my brother asked me on our 200th episode, like, who's your favorite guest? And I'm like, Alan Covert from Grandma's Boy. He was in all the Adam Sandler movies and shit. The main star of Grandma's Boy, like, we met him through Twitter before he got banned on his 4th account for like permanently, I think now. But we met him and we got along very well with him. And he came on and did like a 3.5-4 hour show and just answered tons of questions about like working in movies and comedy. And I mean, you have to understand, like, I'm going to be 46 in 3 weeks. So like Alan Covert and like that brand of comedy was in my wheelhouse. That's kind of like the genesis for like what I love. A lot of the stuff I love today is like when I was 13, 14, like my first comedy album was Adam Sandler, They're All Gonna Laugh at You, which he's on. He helped write some of the sketches and shit. So we've been fortunate enough to do the show and like really meet incredible people. We've had Ellie. You and I actually met on Cornfed with Ellie, and I just got married to Ellie. I'm her second husband.
Oh, that's awesome.
No big deal. She came on our show a couple weeks back, and my brother is a licensed World Life Church minister or whatever it is. And she's got a legit husband who's fucking awesome. He's gonna be coming on as a guest pretty soon on our show. Awesome. But yeah, that's who I am. Like, I have a regular blue collar job. I lead a boring life where I watch movies, play video games, read comic books. I'm not married, don't have kids. I really do consider myself an apathetic loser most of the time. But then it's funny. Like, I tend to go on these like depressive bouts online where I just kind of like wear my heart on my sleeve and my miserable feelings. And then I have people who remind me like, no, man, like what you do, like it gets me through that. Like Squeeze is a perfect example. Like, I work out during the spring and summer here, and I drop a bunch of weight. I go biking and jogging every day. And then in the wintertime, I can't really do that. Like right now as I told you before we went live, I'm watching my window slowly get covered with snow because we're in the middle of an insane blizzard that came out of nowhere. And I don't, when that happens, I just kind of sit and I start to eat shit that I normally wouldn't eat, like sourdough bread, a lot of pizza, a lot of cheeseburgers. I start to drink a lot more. So I pack the weight on and I get really depressed, and I just kind of vent about it online. And there's a lot of times where it like brings me down to the point where like, I don't want to stream anymore. I hate looking at myself on camera. And then Sweez will hit me up in the DM and he's like, dude, and I don't know if it matters, but like what you do like gets me through my day. Like, so please just like, he's the one that keeps reminding me like, be cool, be chill, dude.
Yeah.
So anyway, I feel like I just spouted out a lot of shit.
Like he's like a lightning rod. He brings all these personalities.
He's
and
amazing.
All these people together. And the funniest part is he keeps talking about, hey, I want to do my own podcast, and you know, I want to work with my brother, or I want to try to make things work with my brother, and then we were talking about this. So Sweez is probably one of the, you know, I would say he's the one of two creators of Unfiltered. It's just he's not here. Like,
he's the one that pushed for me to come on. He's like, dude, you got, I'm gonna, because when he first started helping you guys out, he's like, you got to get on there at some point. You got to get on that show with Tyler. I'm like, all right, like it's just a matter of time. That's all.
It really is. I was never worried because I was like, hey, like whenever Doug is ready, he's more than welcome to come on. Like anytime. Like, so I was glad. I was like, hey, I got, you know, season 2 coming up. What day would you like? And you were like, hey, like I'll go for this date. And I was like, done. Let's get you on it. And then little did you know it was the season premiere of season 2. So
totally. And I'm totally happy to be here for the premiere of season 2. I think this is awesome. Dude.
Yeah.
It's it's weird because I rarely get invited to be a guest on a show that's not my own, and it's both humbling and kind of cool. Like, so I appreciate you having me on, man.
You
I just
betcha. Dave was the same way. So like, I mean, great minds think alike. So I mean, you can put yourself in the same league as Dave the thinker, or Dave the stinker, or whatever you want to call him. So
I call him the Greek that denies his culture of homosexuality, but that's just me. I love Dave. I love giving Dave shit, but Dave really is one of my favorite people.
Sourdough is the only bread I'll eat because it doesn't digest like other breads, and you don't have to put on carb weight from it. Oh, that's interesting, Drew.
There's some truth to that, but as somebody who's eaten it literally every day for the last 3 months, I can tell you it does put on weight. However, it makes the best toast. I love sourdough.
Yeah, but it's good though. I mean, if Drew says it's good, and he's a guy that will drink beer in the shower. So like
classic American, I get
drink beer during the workout. Like just, yeah, you know, all American Drew Huntley in the house, in the chat.
What up, Drew?
And he's been one of my longtime viewers. He even pops on for Crash Out. So that's awesome. I mean, I appreciate the dedication from Drew, but no, like season 2, I've gotten some things kind of lined up so far, so that's pretty exciting. My big thing right now has been Crash Out with CJ Holiday, and I found CJ through like, so I used to watch his videos on YouTube, and he had like a decent subscriber base. He had about like 10K subscribers. And then YouTube basically just cut the cord and said, and didn't tell him why. So he went over to Rumble, and I found him on Twitter. I think I reached out to him, and I was like, man, I'd love to have him, you know, to bring him on for season 1. And then right before we had the first, like, before I had him on Unfiltered, he was like, man, I'd love to do like an ongoing podcast. And I was like, okay, you know, why don't we just pair it with Unfiltered and then see where it goes? And then he's come in for Crash Out, and it's really grown. I mean, we've gotten some very interesting characters that pop on, and then I think through CJ and a lot of other people like that hop on chat, like I was able to network with more people within this commentator community.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we keep tabs on Chris Chan and Cyrax and all these other people, and we're just like, you know, we don't condone bullying. We're just observing, but even then we get disgusted at the same time because it's like these people tend to overshare when they're on the internet, where probably you and me, we're like, okay, all right, we keep we keep this part of our lives over here, and then we keep this part of our lives over here, and that's usually the way to go.
I try to separate my personal life from the streaming life. Sometimes it does creep in on Sibling Revelry, where sometimes we'll talk about our weeks, and I will share a little bit about what's going on. Like, I think most of our audience knows what I do for a living, but I try to keep that one close to the chest because I genuinely love what I do to pay the bills, and I would never want to jeopardize it. And I've already jeopardized it a few times.
Yeah.
Pretty close to it, but I don't know. Like, to me, streaming is just, if I get comfortable enough where I want to share more, I will. Like, I think I do it a lot more on Twitter, because that's just kind of like that outlet for it. But I mean, it like anything else, it's come to bite me in the ass in the past. Like, I'm old enough to where I came up pre-MySpace era where we had LiveJournal, which was and it still exists. My old live journals from my early 20s still exist, where it was literally just an online diary, and all of my friends had it when the internet was kind of like becoming a thing. And I've ruined so many girlfriend relationships through that fucking thing alone. Like, you don't have to share everything. And I'm like, I have nowhere else I have no other outlet to spew this. I got to get it out of my system. And streaming it's been good for that. But at the same time, like, I've learned to self-censor myself. Of the two of us, when it comes to me and my brother doing our show, like, I think I'm more guarded and more like I agree with you. Like, I dissuade from bully culture, but at the same time, I come from bully culture. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. And I think the reason why I also think it's Gen X too, like, nothing really bothers us is because, like, we've seen it all. I wouldn't want to say we've seen it all. I haven't been to war, unless you count Call of Duty World War II, which I have been to war in that game. I saved Stutzman in Zone B. But I mean, like, I was bullied for being a fat kid most of my life. In the harshest senses, I've been called the F word and the R word and every other word under the sun, to the point where, like, it's numb to me. So when I see people online living their life openly on Twitter or on Blue Sky or on streaming or whatever, and they're just draining out everything, and then surprised when people give them shit, it's like, you got to build a callus over your soul to get through it. That's life. Like, life sucks. It doesn't always suck, but you can't let everything get to you, man. So, like, I do agree. Like, I'm not a bully type person, but there are some times where I'll see somebody online and be like, you need to get bullied. You need to build up a callus. You need to just.
Yeah. I mean, I came from, I was just like you. So I was like, I came from, where I was bullied when I was a kid, and then I became the bully, where I would just be relentless on some kids. And then I would feel bad. And I was like, well, I mean, this kid, he's harmless. It's not like he's being a creep or he's doing anything else. I mean, for those kids that, like, are just like bona fide creeps, we were just relentless, and you almost have to be to get them to learn the hard way. And these kids these days, man, they don't learn the hard way. I was like, man, I hardly see anything like that. But man, I see kids that. Because, I mean, I do odd jobs that involve kids. So, like, I go into school buildings. It's basically like a glorified babysitter is what it is. And, there's some kids, man, I was like, you didn't get shoved into a locker, enough, growing up.
I agree, but it's also a different world for them compared to the world you and I came up in. They're coming up in a world now where they have smartphones in their hands, and their bullying happens on social media, on all these different platforms that they're all connected to, where people share stories about them. They share videos about them. Like, it's wild. And, like, in my day, it was like, hey, so-and-so said you said this about me. And it's like, I'm going to fight you now. And then you took your lickings and you moved on, you know? I think I think what would be considered bullying in terms of me nowadays, I don't consider bullying, because, like, after a period, I figured out a way to, like, become self-deprecating and talk my way out of fights through a sense of humor, just like fucking with people. And the more I fucked with people, the more they kind of respected me for it. But now you got the softer generation that's below us, like 2 grades, and they're like, hey, well, that's actually bullying. It's like, no, it's just using my brain and quick wit, I think. But you call it whatever you. I've got the point now where it's like, you can only get called a Nazi and a homophobe and a racist and a transphobe so many times before you start to wear it like a badge of honor. Like, it's just sticks and stones. I come from the era of sticks and stones, man. Like, words will never hurt me. Call me whatever you want. I don't care.
No, we're like nowadays, man, people are so charm and soft. And that even goes to like people I've worked alongside. And I mean, it's over the simplest things where they get their egos hurt. And I'm like I've been called worse, or like I've disagreed over something worse. Like I've dealt with like literal psychopaths, like when I was a journalist, like guys, like this is not bad. Like,
you want to talk about kooky coworker? I worked with a dude in Florida. The last 12 years I lived in Florida, I worked in a warehouse for a school district down there. And I drove a box truck delivering paper goods to like custodial departments, office supplies, kitchen supplies, just all paper, styrofoam type shit. And I worked with a dude who was 55 at the time, and he was single, never been married, never had kids. And he was just like this shut-in, this complete shut-in. He was a nice enough guy, I thought, but he was big into NASCAR. And towards the end, like we actually started to get along, but like it got to this point where like where I first started fucking with him was we were driving in a truck and we were listening to Queen. I was listening to Queen's Night at the Opera, which I think is one of the greatest rock albums. And he's like, you know, I used to love this band till I found out the lead singer was gay, and I just turned it off. And I'm like, dude, are you really that stupid that like you would forego such incredible art because of the lead singer's sexual proclivities? And I started fucking with him to the point where I ended up having to join the union because he tried to get me fired multiple times throughout the entire year. Like he told people I was on drugs and I would get drug tested like every other day. It was the most insane experience for like a good year with this guy. And then for whatever reason, like he like dropped it. He's like, all right, you are who you are. I am who I am. It's like, yeah, but like it all stemmed from a conversation over you not liking Queen because you found out the lead singer was gay. Like that's the most asinine thing for a 55-year-old to say out loud, dude.
That's ridiculous because I mean, I agree. Like Queen is probably one of the best rock bands ever. Like who else other than like Freddie Mercury and gang to where they can make Bohemian Rhapsody, you know, We Are the Champions, you know, We Will Rock You.
Fucking hit after hit, dude.
And
not only
Bicycle Race. Bicycle Race is so underrated.
Oh, Bicycle Race. I'm in love with my dude. Not only are they banger after banger. By the way, shout out Sweez. I see you in chat, brother. Be cool, be chill, dude. Not only is it banger after banger, but they're a band that like over the course of years, like all of these songs that are hits have become songs that you hear at hockey games, at baseball games. Like they're songs that like the country, the world itself actually knows, and people, they're beloved. I still, if I had to really whittle down like a top 10 greatest albums of all time, I swear Queen Night at the Opera has got to be in the top 5 somewhere. It's like one of my absolute favorite albums.
Yeah. Queen's just so damn good. So I think it would be a crazy mashup, and I don't know if I'll ever see it happen. I think System of a Down could be one of those very few bands that could cover Queen's Bicycle Race.
I could see that. But is System of a Down still a band? Because I know Serge has been doing like solo stuff the last couple of years.
He's been doing solo stuff, but yeah, they've been, man, they haven't been really doing much since, gosh, when they came out with the double albums back in 2005. Now that feels old. That was like 20 years ago. Or was it 2006? I think.
How old are you, out of curiosity?
39.
Okay, you're not that far behind me. No. All right.
No. And most of the time, I'm like friends with people older than I am. So
they disbanded in 2006, but from 2010 they reunited and they've been playing shows and stuff. But it doesn't show. Where's their discography? Come on, Wikipedia. You got too much shit on you. This guy, their last album was 2005. It was Mesmerized and Hypnotized back to back.
They did back to back albums and then they split off, which was, you know, it is what it is. But I don't know. Maybe someday they'll get back together and they'll do Bicycle Race. You know, maybe we'll have to pay them money to do it once we get big. So,
pipe dreams, dog. Keep it going.
Yeah, pipe dreams. Keep them alive. You can be 80 years old and still have pipe dreams. So
I use that as a tag in a lot of tweets when I try and insinuate that I want to get a guest on that's of like more notoriety than what we normally would have. Mm-hmm. I did it this week. There's a show, a USA show that only lasted one season called Damnation that I'm rewatching currently, and it's a phenomenal show. Logan Marshall Green's. It's about it's set in 1931 during like when the Pinkertons and the government were cracking down on like farmers and stuff like that. Everything was trying to go legit, and it's got murder, blood, God. I mean, it's great. And I tagged the creator of the show as I was rewatching it this week, and I wrote, man, I'd love to get you as a guest on tag Sibling Revelry Pipe Dreams. Like I use that as to see like that might be a stepping stone to get somebody to want to come on. It has not worked so far. Like he liked the tweet, he didn't respond to it. The only other time I did that was with Kamal Ahmed from the Jerky Boys, and he basically shot me down in the comments. He's just like, yeah, keep dreaming, dude. It's never gonna happen. I'm like, son of a bitch.
Oh, dang.
I would love to have you,
because I remember the Jerky Boys when I was a kid, and I thought they were the funniest. They were the funniest people. Like
they were the best. And I think he doesn't want to talk about, I mean, he's answered questions that I've had through like DMs and stuff.
Sure.
But I think he doesn't want to be a guest on anything talking about that period because it ended so badly for him. Like Johnny Brennan went on to be a voice actor in Family Guy, American Dad. Like he's still working. Whereas Kamal, I don't know what Kamal's doing currently for a living, but like he did not have the same pop. And I think that they ended their friendship over the Jerky Boys. Like I've made comments to him about like how I love the Jerky Boys movie, and he's like, why? It's one of the biggest pieces of shit. I'm like, no, it's a piece of shit. But like it meant something to me at 15, and it's carried on for the last 3 decades. So like
absolutely.
For me,
I just remember the trailers, and the trailers were so damn good. I was like, man, I want to go see this movie, and I never did because it was.
I remember
it
thinking
was the funniest shit.
My buddy Gordon and Jason and I and Tony, we all traded bootlegs of the Jerky Boys, and I'm like, they're making a movie about him. And I remember like Gordon being like, how are they going to make a movie about prank phone calls? And they somehow figured it out. But I mean, it really, when you look back on that movie, it's got a lot of the cast from The Sopranos. Like Carmela's mother is Johnny Brennan's mom in the movie. Big Pussy's in the movie. It's got a lot of like Sopranos level actors, and realistically, it's a mafia comedy centered around 2 guys prank calling the mafia. That's really what it is. It's not going to win Oscars.
No.
And it's got Ozzy Osbourne in it. It does have Ozzy in it.
It had Ozzy. So yeah. So I'll tell a fun little story about Ozzy. So that was a great segue, by the way. So kudos.
Hell yeah. I love Ozzy.
My mom went to the infamous concert in Des Moines where he bit off the head of the bat. And
nice. Yeah.
So my mom was in the crowd, and she's just enjoying the show because she wanted to go see Ozzy, and Ozzy was he was in the old Veterans Memorial Auditorium. It was basically a barn on steroids, a barn with seats in it, and it holds a place in every Iowan's heart that has been born before the year 2000. Terrorizing telemarketers are my favorite prank call albums. Yes,
they're the best.
They're the best. Mom was just, going to a concert, just hanging out, just wanting to see Ozzy, and somebody throws the bat on the stage. Ozzy just on a whim just picks it up, boop, and then he realizes, oh crap, this is not a prop, like this is a real thing. So he throws it in the crowd, and he hits the guy like right next to my mom, just right in the chest, and blood goes all over the place. It hits this guy square in the chest. And she was like wearing a white shirt. Show. She was wearing a white shirt, and she had blood all over the place. So, but unfortunately, she never kept the shirt. So,
based on that story, I want to get your mom booked on Sibling Revelry. I have so many questions.
She would probably be willing to get on, believe it or not, because she's been a big fan of this Kiss tribute band down here in Texas, and so she keeps in tabs with them and loves Kiss, so I hear Kiss all the time.
I love Kiss too, dude. Matter of fact, Sweeze posted a video on Twitter today of it was the first video that Kiss did without the makeup on, and it was the album. If I'm not mistaken, the album, because they did a couple albums without the makeup, but I think the first album they did was Crazy Nights. It was the first cassette tape my cousin Kenny gave me when I was in elementary school. I was in 5th or 6th grade. So it was like the first music cassette tape that I ever got given to me, like, hey, you should listen to this. I got into Kiss when they didn't have makeup on. I love Crazy Nights. And Sweeze posted this video, and he's like, is this AI or is this real? And I'm like, no, it's real. I remember watching that video on MTV when they took the makeup off. They looked horrible, dude. Yeah. That big Jew froze all sticking out.
So, mom like kind of kept her fandom of Kiss kind of on the DL. But she did meet Gene Simmons one time. Like she was at a party, and this was
Did
like
he try and bet her?
What's that?
Did he try and bet her? Because Gene Simmons is known for the ladies.
He is known for the ladies. So mom was trying to play cool. She was trying to play chill. And Gene Simmons was like, "Hey, do you know who I am?" Like, because he's trying to talk to her, and she's just, and mom's just like, whatever. And it was so funny because he's like, "Do you not know who I am?" And mom's like, "I don't know. I don't know who you are. Just some Jewish looking dude, And
just sticks his tongue out at her.
I think he did. And mom's like, "Oh, that's cool." And she blew off Gene Simmons.
Dude, your mom's awesome. Your mom has willpower of steel. I kind of figure like most women who met Gene Simmons in his younger days like that would have been like, it's for the story alone.
Yeah, she's a different cat. But
awesome.
Yeah, like she still wants to do stuff even when she's in her 70s, and I got to take care of her because she's went through like about 9 back surgeries. She's probably like, know what, Tyler, I should round it up and do one more. And I'm like, please don't. Like, you'll be dead. Like, please don't. Mom pulled the sleeves.
Mom,
yeah.
Our mom's currently going through that right now. She just had shoulder surgery like a month or two back, and then she fell 3 weeks ago and fractured her wrist. She's got to get a hip replacement. It's funny. My brother has made the comment. He's like, I would love to get mom to be a guest on our show, and I'm like, I'm for it, but I want to wait for our father to pass. Our dad I love my dad. Don't get me wrong, but my dad, his sense of humor is fleeting, and he's a very more left of center type person.
Sure.
And the kind of shit that we talk about and that we do on our show, like, it's not his thing. And I think he realizes that. Our mom, I would love to have on. And I'm like, when dad passes, I'll invite her on. But at the same time, like, I know my mom, like, I think my mom would come on and just sit there and not say a word for 2 to 3 hours. She'd just be like, okay, you guys say the F word quite a bit. I'm like, yeah, we do.
Yeah. So I think along with forming Unfiltered, and I give credit to Sweeze was one half of the idea. My dad and I wanted to do a podcast originally because, Dad got into, before Dad passed in 21, Dad wanted, and this was during the pandemic. So he had he owned a small business. He was the sole proprietor. He would do sound shows. Like, he was an audio engineer. So he would go and do, he's done like Saliva. He's done Blue Oyster Cult. He's done Seven Dust. Like, my dad would always joke, I'm too big to stay small, but I'm too small to go big. And, but Dad would do these huge sound shows. He did Tonic when they were big.
I remember Tonic.
I remember, yeah. Gosh,
I was working at the radio station in college when Tonic. I saw Tonic. You mentioned Saliva. You mentioned Seven Dust. I saw those bands in clubs when they were first coming out, working at the radio station. And man, Tonic is a name I never thought I'd hear anybody else utter out loud in my life. I love Tonic. I really do.
Tonic was good. They did play like at the Hilton Coliseum in Ames, and they had Dad do sound for it. And the guitar player was trying to like motion to Dad about something involving the sound. And Dad didn't understand what he was trying to do. And Dad's like, I don't know what you're saying. Like, and the guitar player started getting pissed off at Dad. So like, Dad's like, I didn't know what he was trying to tell me. I mean, whatever, But Dad wanted to do he was influenced by Joe Rogan a little bit because he loved him some Joe Rogan experience. And he created like the basement room into a studio. And then we tried to do everything through, like, we tried to do multi-cameras. And I mean, he wanted to do like a really big production out of it. So he bought like a GoPro, like with all this, what was it? The COVID money. He was given like a whole bunch of money to help with his business. So he would do like he would buy like he would get into streaming. He'd help churches stream services during as the day job, and then at night he was trying to tinker with everything and be like, I want to do like a multi-camera deal. have a camera on me, have a camera on you, Tyler, because I was like, hey, Dad, remember when we used to drive around and you'd tell me about all these conspiracy theories and all this stuff you read about UFOs and aliens and Sasquatch and all this shit? Like, why don't we make that into a podcast? Because you know all this stuff. And we were going to initially call it Weird Shit. Like, and then the I would be, it would be an exclamation mark. So it wouldn't piss people off. He was like, I like the name, but I think Grandma would disagree with it. And I was like, Grandma's not going to watch the show. Like, Grandma's going to stay, like, watch her televangelist and watch her, her PBS station. So, like, I think we're going to be okay, Dad. So it was my dad and not my oldest cousin. It was my second youngest cousin, because he wanted to kind of do that. He wanted to get into that. Now he welds. So, he's doing okay. And then
they make money. Well,
yeah, make money however he can. I mean, he's doing a lot better than I did when I was his age. So
when I worked in Florida, that was the big thing that people went for, was welding, because they paid the most. That was like the one, aside from HVAC, you could make serious money doing welding in Florida. Yeah.
And then it's not even a very long career. You can get in, make a ton of money and hop out and and have something else to do.
Did you and your dad ever record anything while he was alive?
We recorded one episode, and I don't even know where it's at. It's almost like lost media now.
Oh, man, I would love to hear that.
Yeah, because it was because Dad had us wear chicken hats. Like, we had literal chicken hats that we wore. Because
my dad's got one too.
Yeah, and
it's so funny.
He grew up in Omaha. Like, he used to tune into this Omaha station, and it was like the Chicken Man. And this Chicken Man was supposed to be like this, like kind of like a radio drama, but it was a parody of it, kind of like the old Green Hornet or Superman, radio dramas back in the day. And it was like, Chicken Man, he's everywhere. And he loved it. And so the first episode, we were wearing chicken hats.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I just gave my dad a chicken hat. I had to drive, it was glorified pub crawl a couple weeks ago, where we have these things up here where in the wintertime, we're at the ski hill where I live. Guys will take their trucks and big rigs and they'll do these uphill mud drags, they call them. And I am hired as a driver to pick up people from all the various bars. And it's essentially just bringing drunks from one bar to another until they get to the ski hill to watch the drags. And you make decent money doing it. But somebody on my vehicle left a big chicken hat mask, and I gave it to my dad, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna clean this up and wear this all the time." I'm like, "Yeah, I kind of figured this would be up your alley."
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, actually. That's really cool. I remember Spirit Halloween had like one of those chicken masks, and I wish I would have bought it because it was so damn cool. Because the mouth can.
I miss Spirit. Oh, I miss Spirit of Halloween. We don't have any around here. And in Florida, you could throw a rock and you'd find a Spirit of Halloween. I miss going into those places. It's funny is I don't know if I doubt I have it anymore. If I do, it's on a hard drive somewhere. But like back in 2025, 26, when I was living in Florida, my parents had moved back up here and they came down a few more times to visit and take care of some family business. And at the time, Kevin Smith had just started doing not even Smodcast. He was doing Smodcast internet radio through Stitcher, the Stitcher app on BlackBerry phones. And at that time, he had a website. It was moviepoopshoot.com. And Dana something, I can't think of his last name. He's the voice of Master Shake on Aqua Teen Hunger Force, but he had a podcast, like one of the first podcasts that I was really into, to the point where like I wanted to get into podcasting. Back then it was an audio medium only. And my dad, and I've said it, like I don't think he'd be a good guest on our show. Like he's just his personality and humor have changed over the last 15, 20 years. But back then, my dad had so many great stories of growing up in the 50s and 60s. We're up here, like in the characters. that he lived around. Like my dad lived around people. There was a guy that everybody in town knew who every wintertime he would break windows in department stores just so he could get thrown in jail to have a warm place to sleep and a free meal. Like, and he lived next to like alcoholic Finlanders and shit like that. So I bought a microphone, and my buddies and I were like, we're going to do a podcast just like Kevin Smith and all these, and Dana and all these people that we love. And I learned how to record audio podcasts and edit through Audacity. And my dad, one of the times he came to visit, sat down with me for 2 hours and just told stories from his childhood and did the voices and very funny guy. Doesn't allow a lot of people to see it, which really pisses me off because he is one of the funniest people I've ever met. But talking about your dad and all of that, like, God, I wish I could find that. Like, I really want to release that to the public. It was such a great thing to have with my dad, because I don't get that shit anymore. Like my dad's an MSNBC dad these days.
Oh,
so
yeah. Dad's no, I mean, he passed in 21. And I mean, it still felt like we could have done so much, but it was one of those things where, hey, he was just called home. Just, only the good die young, and he was one of the good ones. So
how old was he?
He was 58.
Oh, that's way too young to go.
Way too young. And my grandfather passed away when he was 75. So I was like, my grandfather had a full life. But I mean, yeah, at this rate, my grandmother's going to outlive us all. So,
but based on how you talk about your dad, it seems like even in that short amount of time, like he lived a pretty great life, man. He sounds like a really great guy.
Yeah, he was a bit of a rock star. So he was a sound engineer. So like he would do power washing during the week. So he would go into hog confinements and power wash. He'd have a sucky job. And then in the weekends he'd clean up, and he'd go hit the road and do sound for all these bands. And they didn't pay as well as when he was like a DJ, like, cause mom and dad, they met through doing sound for teen dances. And that's how I came along. That's how I came into the picture. And
Pat Benatar came over one night, and you were conceived in the back seat of your dad's Pinto.
I guess it wasn't so much of a Ford Pinto, but maybe a Ford Escalade. Who knows? But
we are young.
but no, it was more so, dad, mom, when I was a kid, they were like oil and water. You couldn't really put them together. And then I was kind of a jerk when I was a kid. So, but no, like dad did some really cool stuff. Like, but he would always be out late at night, and then he'd be in bed till like noon. Like, and, sometimes he'd wander in late into church, and then maybe on a Sunday afternoon, he'd be like, "Hey Tyler, do you want to go out somewhere?" Or like, maybe some like in a summer or whatever, we'd go on a big trip. And, yeah, it was, I mean, we had our difficulties. That's any with parent and child, but, I was the best man at his wedding with his second wife. And she's doing great. And I did the best man speech. I did like the whole wrestling gimmick where I was doing the yay, boo, yay, boo, and had them boo me and had them cheer, dad and stepmom. And
awesome.
Yeah, and then my stepbrother comes up, and he looks like Dave Chappelle, like spitting image of Dave Chappelle.
He's black.
He's black. Oh yeah, he's black. Looks like Dave Chappelle.
Your stepmom was black.
Yes,
I take it.
My stepmom's black.
All right, that's awesome.
And she's a classy lady, classiest lady I've ever met, and she's my mom now. My mom's best friend. And
that's
mom was
great.
Like,
Because they share a history with the same guy, I imagine.
Yeah.
Somebody that they both loved at one point.
Yeah. So I mean, they found common ground, and now they're like best friends. And now like stepmom gets a hold of mom every now and then, and when mom goes back up to the old hometown, I mean, they hang out all the time. So
that's awesome.
Yep. Just because
that's awesome.
Yeah, they have no ulterior motives. They have no agenda with one another. They're just like, and mom used to kid that, oh, that's the good wife, I was the bad wife.
They both loved him. They both got a great life out of him. It sounds like, I get it. I totally get it. And you don't hear that often. Like most stepmothers or second wives and first wives, like kind of like hatred for the rest of their lives. It's kind of cool to hear that kind of story,
Yeah, they really got to know each other when Dad passed, and that was probably one of the best things that came out of Dad passing was, mom and stepmom became best friends. And but going back to the wedding, Roderick, he's like, oh, well, there's the best man. And then there's Roderick. And then he had some drinks in him already. So he's trying to just kind of figuring out, like, he's trying to feel himself through a speech. He's just winging it. Where I was like, I had this in my head. I think I pre-rehearsed it. So I was like, okay, this will be good. And he was winging it, had a few drinks in him, but it still came out good. He still looks back at that night and he was like, man, you knocked that out of the park. And I just kind of stumbled my way through mine. And I was like, hey, you got more going on than I do. So, I don't blame you.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. I'm more like you. I've eulogized my grandmother at her funeral and I wrote that out, but for the most part, like, I tend to wing things too. So I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. See, like, there's times where I can wing it. So, like, with Unfiltered, I can wing it because it's essentially it's a hang. It's like I bring somebody really cool on, somebody I want to get to know, or somebody I've been friends with for at least a short while, and then I'm like, well, it's just shooting the breeze and we're just winging it. It's not like, oh man, I got like 20 questions for you, Doug. Oh man, and once you're done, and I was like, all right, okay, cool, let's move on to the next question. Nah, I just wing it through these. Where Crash Out has a little more of a structure to it, where I'm like, okay, there's got to be a format to the show. So I love it when I can do a hang.
And I'm very much that way too now. Like in the beginning, Sibling Revelry was very much like him and my brother and I just like getting hammered and just talking shit and having people on. And then we ended up developing a format that was kind of like a late night show where we'd go through the weeks. Paul, he would set up like a whole news segment where he'd talk about current events that was going on. And then we would go into like TV and entertainment. We'd talk about shows that we were watching and review them. And now it really, the last couple episodes, thankfully, because I enjoy this much more, is like formatless. It's just us kind of hanging out with the guests. Like, to me, the mark of a good episode is like when we go past 3 hours and we haven't even begun like the format of the show. Like when you're just talking to somebody and you're flowing with them, like that's what I love. That's what I like to consume personally. And I think my brother, I think he's gotten a little bit more, that's what I'm looking at. He's softened to the idea more of like, we don't have to do the format all the time. Like we've had people, it's funny because for the longest time, he would only stream to Rumble is what we did. And I'm like, let's start doing it on X. And he's like, well, I want to draw followers to the Rumble channel. I'm like, I get that. But like, I'm paying attention to the chat and to people on Twitter. Nobody likes Rumble. And I'm like, I get it that we can say whatever we want, but like, fuck getting followers. Let's stream out and see how many people just actually tune in and comment with us. And Sweeves was like, I think one of the vocal parts with Paul where he was like, man, stream it to Rumble. It's easier to share. It's not Rumble, but Twitter. Like it's easier to share. Like more people will sit and watch it on Twitter and shit like that. And I get it. Like I said, I love Rumble for the sheer fact that we can like say what we want and not get hit for it. But at the same time, like I also recognize that sitting through 5-second commercials about patriotic gold coins or some right-wing bullshit, like I wouldn't want to do that either. With Twitter, you don't get that. It just goes straight to Twitter,
Yeah.
But I have no idea why I brought that up. I've had a couple of White Claws in me, if I haven't mentioned that. My brain's a little...
What flavor is your favorite, Doug? What's your favorite flavor?
Well, I'll tell you, I have two of them, peach and grape. Peach and grape are my absolute, that's kind of what I keep in the fridge. Every now and then I'll pick up a case of green apple, but I'm currently sucking down a peach one. Before that, it was grape. Grape, it tastes like a grape crush.
Oh,
it tastes like grape crush soda. It's so good.
Dang.
It's weird. I never thought in a million years that this would be my thing, but I really do love White Claws. Everybody makes fun of me at the local bars here for it, but I don't give a shit, dude. It does the same thing beer does.
Yes, I was a hard cider guy for a while. Like
I don't mind hard cider.
Yeah, so like whenever I go to Buffalo Wild Wings now it's all Angry Orchard, but they would have Woodchuck on tap. And I loved Woodchuck. Oh, Woodchuck was so good. And then
which was very good.
There was another one that was cheaper that was called Smith and Forge. They no longer make Smith and Forge, but man, Smith and Forge was cheap and it was damn good. Like I'd sit there, like I'd take home like a 6-pack, and I get hammered off of I would feel good after a 6-pack of Smith and Forge.
I usually kill a 6-pack of these, and that's more than enough to get me where I need to go. I like carbless quite a bit because it's 0 sugar, 0 carbs, and I think it's like 90 some calories. And I'm a calorie counter, but like with White Claw, you get a little bit of sugar, you get a little bit of carbs, and it's 100 calories, but it's carbonated. Carbless didn't have like a carbonate. If they did, it was very mild carbonation. And it's a weird thing to say out loud, but I like burping. I like the taste of booze as it burps up out of your esophagus. I did last night I was at the bowling alley hanging out with some friends, and somebody was drinking. John Daly has a new line of drinks out, like Arnold Palmer style drinks, where it's iced tea, whatever the other alcoholic component is, and they had like a raspberry flavored one, and it was pretty damn good. Like I wouldn't mind getting a case of that, trying it.
Oh
yeah.
Well, John, I mean that's par for the course for John Daly, though.
John Daly, dude, if he comes out with an alcoholic Diet Coke, I'm in, dude. Like Diet Coke is like, besides water and White Claws, that's all I drink. If he came out with like a hard Diet Coke, forget it. Game over for me, man.
A hard Diet Cola. Woo.
Oh, it would be the best.
That would be good.
With Sibling Revelry, like I drank beer for like 3 or 4 years of that show. Like we both did. He had to switch over to Mick Ultra because he got diagnosed with diabetes. And like I said, I'm a calorie counter, and I'm also cheap. I don't have a lot of money, but the money I do have, I have a tough time parting with it unless it's something I want. I hate paying bills, but then again, who doesn't? But
Drew just paid his, so let's go.
Oh, dude, I hate bills. I hate them so much. Thankfully, I don't have many. I've learned to live like a pretty frugal life to where like my monthly nut's not that bad. It's maybe $1,500 a month. But when I drank beer with Paul on the show, it was I for like 3 years I drank Milwaukee's Best, the cheapest, shittiest light beer, only because it was $15 for a 30-pack. Like that was like the whole. I'm like, I get this many, and I can get this screwed up on this cheap of a price, and then it switched to Miller Lite, and then I stopped. We both stopped drinking on the show, and I think the last couple months, like we introduced it back in, and I'm like, if I'm going to start drinking again, I don't want to go back to beer, and I started with carbless, and I'm like, this isn't that bad. And I'm like, well, fuck, I'll try White Claw. I see a lot of people drinking White Claws. They're not bad. I mean, I associate them with white women, but I don't care. They're not bad. No. They're not bad at all.
What was it? I remember back at, before the COVID hit, the seltzers were a big deal. Budweiser tried doing like a seltzer, and like they were all trying to jump on that White Claw craze.
Do you remember when Sunny D came out with their hard Sunny D? It was they still make it. It's actually not bad, but it tastes nothing like Sunny D. It comes in a can just like White Claw, and it's got the Sunny D logo, and it's a carbonated hard Sunny D, but it tastes exactly like, I don't know if you've ever had Squirt soda. Yeah. The pot. It tastes just like Squirt. It's like a citrusy kind of soda just with booze in it.
Wow. Huh. Dang.
It's not bad, but it's like when you see Sunny D, you expect a certain flavor, and it's not the flavor you get. But
right, yeah. So like Squeeze, he's into like, I think he's like hard. He was like into hard Mountain Dew Baja Blast for a bit. I don't know what he's into now.
That's a thing.
That's a thing.
Mountain Dew makes booze. I didn't know
there's a hard Mountain Dew out there.
I wouldn't mind trying it. I've never been a Mountain Dew fan, but I wouldn't mind trying like a hard Mountain Dew. I did try. Oh, God, I think it was Pabst Blue Ribbon made an alcoholic coffee drink, a cold coffee drink that wasn't bad, but it's not something I would drink on a regular basis. Like alcohol and cream does not settle the stomach the right way.
No, that's asking for. I mean, that's why you never want to mix alcohol with milk or whatever.
Unless it's a White Russian, which last night at the bowling alley, I saw my buddy and his wife get obliterated on White Russians, and the entire time quoting the Big Lebowski throughout the entire night. And every time he would get a White Russian, she would steal it when he went to bowl. And he started to the point where he started hiding his White Russians because she was just sucking them down like they were water. It was wild to watch.
Oh my goodness. Drew likes the purple White Claw, but he likes Coors Light a lot more. I mean, hey, I'm a Coors Light guy.
I don't mind Coors Light. You know, sometimes you got that inner werewolf and you need the silver bullet to kill it, but I don't. That's a Kyle Kinane joke. But yeah, I don't mind Coors Light. When it comes to beer, towards the end, my preferred was Miller Lite. I enjoy the taste of Miller Lite. I also like past blue PBR. PBR is not a bad beer.
I like PBR
Guinness.
too.
If I'm in the mood for a dark stout, I like a good Guinness. Matter of fact, I was at Aldi's earlier this week. I posted a photo on Twitter, but Aldi's is one of those weird stores where they'll have seasonal things that come around once in a while. And I think because of St. Patrick's Day coming up, they had these Irish kettle cooked potato chips.
Oh.
And they're made in Ireland. They're kettle cooked in Ireland. They have like the date and the bag and the history on the back of the bag. And they're like $4 for a small snack size bag. And they had two flavors. Sour cream and shamrock, which I'm assuming is sour cream and onion. I didn't buy that one. And they had Guinness flavored potato chips. Let me tell you something. Never in a million years would I thought that would have been a good potato chip flavor. It might be the best flavored potato chip I've ever had in my life. It is so good. Wow. If you guys could, I think it's called Kerough's, Keroughs is the brand name. But if you can find their Guinness kettle cooked potato chips, it is so good. I don't know. It doesn't taste exactly like Guinness, but it has that creaminess that Guinness has on the foam. Oh, they're so good, dude. I'm a potato chip nerd. Like I try not to eat them, but every now and then I'll find a bag with like a certain flavor. And I'm like, I got to see what it tastes like.
Yeah. I think Dalton Pruitt has become kind of a potato chip connoisseur. And
on top of a boob connoisseur.
Yeah. And we're like, I think I got into like a chip company called Zapp's, and they have I
love Zapp's.
Zapp's is amazing. Like they're
great. Zapp's is great.
Zapp's is wonderful. Like the Voodoo is really good, but my all-time favorite, and if I find it, I buy like about 4 bags. It's the spicy dill gator like potatoes or whatever. It's so good. It's a dill pickle, but it's got a little bit of a kick to it.
I've had those. They used to in Florida. You used to be able to get them at Wawa. Wawa sold those things left and right. Wawa's those and awesome. Oh, I miss a good Wawa. We don't have any up here. We have Quick Trips up here, which aren't bad. They make good chicken tenders, but up here, our big potato chip, like kind of local thing is Old Dutch. It's like Old Dutch, Midwestern.
Yeah.
I like them quite a bit.
Yeah, me too. Like their dill pickles, like a classic. And then you can never go wrong with Old Dutch. But yeah, like I went out to a Wawa when I was out east. Gosh, it was about now it's like about 16 years ago, about 15 years ago. And I remember I was like, the coolest thing is you can go get like yourself a Philly cheesesteak, like by walking into a Wawa. And there was one in downtown Philadelphia, and it was awesome. Like it was great.
When we got Wawas in Florida, like the last 4 or 5 years I lived there, and I remember thinking like, this is the greatest thing ever. I can get a sandwich at any time of day, any kind of sandwich. I'm like, that's amazing. And their cookies were good. But it's funny because like, it's funny how like you gravitate towards the things that you can't have because they're region specific. Like a Wawa is very East Coast and to some degree Southern, like more in like the Panhandle, Florida, shit like that, Georgia. But like you guys in Texas have stuff that I would kill for. Never mind a Buc-ee's. I love a good Buc-ee's. I would give my left nut to have a Whataburger up here. It's my favorite fast food burger I've ever had in my life. Yeah. And I've argued this with people who are like, no, man, you've never had In-N-Out. I've had In-N-Out. And In-N-Out's a great burger. Don't get me wrong. But when I left Florida, when I moved out of Florida at the end of 2017, I stopped at my first Whataburger in Tallahassee. And I walked in and got a burger, fries, and a shake. I went out and ate the burger in the moving truck I was in, and I loved it so much that I went back in and bought 6 more burgers and put them in my cooler, and I just ate burgers as I drove across the country. And then I got to Texas and found out that it was a Texas-based thing, and I ate fucking Whataburger for like an entire day, dude. I had breakfast there. I had burger. Dude, it's my favorite burger, fast food wise. I love a Whataburger.
Whataburger. So like, for Whataburger, like when I was living in the Midwest, I was living in Iowa for about 5 years. After my 11 years in Texas, and I lived in South Dakota for like another year. Mostly Rapid City. And I was like, oh man, as much as I love like what I would try to do if I had capital to me is try to franchise Whataburger and bring it and introduce it to Iowa or South Dakota. And then in return, I would take Taco John's to Texas.
I've been told why, like, I don't, and I'm not, my memory's kind of hazy. My brother's explained to me why In-N-Out's not a franchise, like why it's kind of specific to the West, like Arizona, California, because it's based on like local produce and local farmers and shit like that. Whataburger makes no sense to me. That should be a global, Whataburger should overtake McDonald's. There's no reason for them not to, unless I'm missing something and I don't know if it's like a local region kind of thing, but it really, like, I'm not a Dr. Pepper fan. That doesn't do anything for me, but their burgers are the best, dude.
They're so good.
I would kill to have a Whataburger right now.
Like, I would go for a double meat Whataburger with Hatch green chilies.
For what you pay, the size of the burger is like insane to me. Like for what it's an affordable burger, and you're getting like, dude. I'm working myself up into a hunger thinking about Whataburgers right now.
No, and Drew says burgers are my favorite food. When I was a kid, I wanted to be Wimpy from Popeye.
I will gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Dude, my brother and I had this discussion a couple of weeks ago on the show, like what your favorite food is, and I'm like, we were trying to whittle down like what is your be all end all, Last Supper, death row meal. And really, there's 3 things for me. It's a burger, a really good cheeseburger, a really good pizza, and sushi. Like, those are my 3 absolute favorite foods. And they're so odd in far as like not being the kind of food that you would see meld together. But man, I could eat all 3 of those things at any given time of day during the week.
Yeah, and I think people don't give sushi enough love because, like, if you could find a really great sushi place, there was like a really good sushi place in Omaha called Blue. And I went with one of my best friends, Craig. And I went with somebody I had for season 1, Duke Cornell. And he had his girlfriend like that lived out in the boonies in Nebraska, like outside of Omaha. I thought we were going to get shellacked on like some back road country highway, you know, in BFE, Nebraska. But we came back in Omaha. We went to the sushi place. My best friend wouldn't even touch, like Craig wouldn't even touch sushi. Where I got the, you know, we ordered like I think it's like the California roll, the Philadelphia roll, whatever. And I was like, oh my God, this is so good. Like, and then I think there's like a sushi bar in Odessa. That was called Volcano, and they were really good too. There's some good sushi places if you know where to find.
We had some. Oh yeah, if we had some places in Florida when I lived, Mr. Me's was like my go-to. Up here we have none. Like you have to drive 2 hours to Green Bay, Wisconsin to find like fresh sushi, but we do. However, like 30 minutes from where I live, there's a grocery store called Econo, and they have a sushi place in it with like this little Asian dude who makes like fresh sushi daily and puts it out in like these pre-made packs. And it's not like what you'd get at a restaurant, but it is the closest thing I can get. And I find myself going there like every other day throughout the week, just getting like I get the same thing every time. I spend $15 and I get a platter with sashimi, the seaweed wrapped rolls that have like crab meat and tempura shrimp, and then I get one that just has like all of the masago and spicy mayo on it, and I murder that shit. My dad is one of those guys like he's like, you love sushi. He's like, I'll never eat that shit. I'm like, why? Like, you love fish? He's like, I'm not gonna eat it raw. And I'm like, number one, it's not going to kill you, but like I would argue raw tuna and salmon to me personally tastes better, has a better texture when you chew into it. But like I love the flavor of raw tuna. Like I never in a million, as a kid, I thought it was like the grossest concept until I had it. And I'm like, yeah, this is pretty good. Like I started working in radio when I was in college, and my station manager took me out for sushi. I'm like, I don't know about this. He's like, just try eel. And I took a bite. I'm like, it's not as bad as I thought it would be. And then I started trying a little bit of everything, and you find shit that you don't like. But man, like I still don't like ginger. I think that's the worst thing for a palate cleanser when it comes to sushi. But wasabi, I hated in the beginning. Now I find myself dousing everything in wasabi. Like I love it. Dude, now I want sushi. I want a Whataburger. I want sushi. Let's start talking about pizza because I'm going to want a pizza too.
Yeah. So, okay. What would be your favorite pizza franchise? So since we're going to get into that territory.
Franchise? Well, if we're talking franchises, it's it's funny is like living in Florida. When I didn't have money, I had a Papa John's right behind my house, and I ate that more than anything because I got the online account, and every pizza I would get, I would just let the points build to where I ate free pizza for a year based off my points that I built on the website. And I like Papa John's. I like Pizza Hut. I don't hate Domino's. It's not my favorite, but living where I live now, like in Florida, you had options and variety of pizza, not just the franchise pizza, but you had like pizzerias that had the different style crusts, their kind of take on pizzas. There was one where I lived in Fort Myers. They had a place that was on Man versus Food and Guinness World Records because they had like the world's only reptile pizza. It had gator meat, it had boa snake meat on it, it had iguana meat, it had all these weird exotic meats. And it wasn't my thing, but they made like a really great Big Mac pizza, their version of a Big Mac pizza. Franchise pizza, as far as it goes, I do like Papa John's. I do like Pizza Hut. I like Little Caesars, but personally up here, we have those places. We have a Little Caesars. We have a Pizza. We don't have a Papa John's, but up here we have what's known in like Chicago specifically as tavern style pizza, where it's all thin crust pizza. You can get it at any bar, any bowling alley. And it's not bad pizza. It's especially if they make the crust. Usually the homemade crust is like really what sets it off. But my preferred pizza is like a New York style type crust pizza. That's what I loved when I worked at a pizzeria in high school in Florida that made a New York style pizza that was just, to me, the bit like the slices were the size of my fucking head. They were so good. And here I literally during Christmas break I drove an hour away. There's a small place called Spalding, Michigan. It's in the middle of nowhere. They've got a Sedex gas station, they've got a tiny little high school, and they have a place called Sidetracks Bar and Grill that makes an amazing New York style pizza that I will literally drive an hour just to go get. Ooh. Like when it comes to pizza, if I'm in the mood, and I don't eat pizza often, but if I'm in the mood to eat pizza, I will drive to get the pizza I want before I go to like Little Caesars or Pizza Hut. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if I'm craving pizza, I want legit pizza. Now, when it comes to tavern style thin crust, my brother and I both agree, and this is a theory I have. I think when it comes to food, when it comes to movies, wrestling, games, whatever it is that you truly love, I think your love starts when you experience it as a child for the first time. So when we were kids, we grew up about an hour away from where we both live now in this small little Midwestern Michigan town called Kingsford. And there's a place that's still there. It's been there for 50 some odd years, I think, called Pizza Oven. And they make their crust from scratch. And it's a paper thin crust pizza. You get your basic toppings and all that stuff. It is pound for pound the best pizza I've ever had. And I'm convinced, and don't get me wrong, I know I said I love New York style pizza. That's my jam. But I think I say that in the terms that like it was the first pizza I ever had as a kid. So like no matter where I go, I can have you can get thin crust anywhere up here. Pizza Oven is where I would prefer to go. Now, if I want that New York style, I'll drive an hour to Spalding to get the New York style from Sidetracks. But franchise wise, I really wish we had a Papa John's, just based on the fact that I could get free pizza for a year off points alone. My account still exists, and I have points that I can't use because I don't have a Papa John's around here.
Oh man. So when I lived in Rapid, I had a Papa John's just right down the road. along with a Little Caesars. So if I was feeling pizza, like, and I just wanted some, franchise pizza, like I'd go to one of those two. Or I go to Marco's. Marco's was really good.
Marco's is dude. I forgot about Marco's. That's another one you have to drive 2 hours to go to, but Marco's makes a damn good pizza. And I like how they have their pepperoni is the old world pepperoni that turns into a cup and full of grease.
Yep.
Oh, dude, my go-to toppings. First of all, what's your go-to toppings on the pizza? What's your favorite?
Ooh, this might be a little unorthodox, but mushrooms and Canadian bacon.
Okay, we're almost best friends.
Okay.
My brother hates mushrooms. He hates them. My go-to on a pizza, 9 times out of 10, pepperoni and mushrooms. If I can afford it, I'll get pepperoni, mushrooms, bacon, and Canadian bacon. Ooh. Like, if I have the money to splurge on the extra toppings, I'll do all 4. My favorite pizza topping is ham and pineapple, which I know is highly contested online amongst many people. But I got to tell you, like, like what you like, hate what you hate. That's my life philosophy for anybody. When it comes to ham and pineapple, I'll go a step further. Ham, pineapple, bacon. Again, if I can afford the bacon, I'll throw it on there. Mm-hmm. But to me, ham and pineapple, it's the perfect balance of sweet and salty mixed with the cheese and the sauce and the bread. But usually, because most places around here don't have like I wouldn't say high quality ingredients. They have okay, but most people use like canned pineapple. If I'm going to have ham and pineapple, I want fresh pineapple.
Right.
So my go-to 9 times out of 10 is mushrooms and pepperoni. And dude, nobody uses the old world style pepperoni that turns into a grease cup, and except Marco's. God, I forgot about Marco's, and I wish I had Marco's around here.
Okay, so
talking to you is making me hungry as shit, dude.
I know. I'm not helping.
Not complaining.
My favorite pizza chain is Casey's General Store. Now they're a gas station. They're a gas station, but in the 80s they started attaching pizza kitchens because they were already making donuts. They were like, well, we can use the same machines to make pizza. So that was my childhood. I grew up in a town of like less than, I was split between a town of less than, about less than 800 people compared to a town of 25,000 people. And, sure. And on Friday nights, because Dad never cooked, Dad couldn't cook, he would be like, I'll just order a pizza. And he would always go, we'd always do, and Casey's was like, 2 miles away, tops. And it would take a half hour. And I remember just, and the crust is a little doughy, I will say that. But it's so good because the cheese just melts in your mouth. And sometimes it drags a little bit off of the slice, but it's so good. And then now Amarillo has a Casey's right over the overpass from me.
Oh, that's awesome.
And when I ordered a pizza, and I was like, you guys have a high standard to keep because this to me, this is home. It was actually really good, but you have to order it with extra cheese. Otherwise, it's not enough cheese. So, like Casey's Pizza, chef's kiss.
If I ever see it, I'll try it.
Yeah. And the cool part is every now they're known for their breakfast pizza. So do try the breakfast pizza.
I don't mind breakfast pizza.
And they for a while they did a mac and cheese pizza, which was really good.
I've had a couple different mac and cheese pizza. They're normally not my favorite. I'm not a big pasta I do like pasta when it's cold as shit outside, but it's not my go-to. Up here, because we live, because I'm in the upper peninsula, we're known for cheese curds. Like I live in Michigan, but I'm 15 minutes away from Wisconsin in any which way. Like I live in that weird part where like Michigan, you go from Michigan and then you cross into Wisconsin just 15 minutes down the road, and then you cross back into Michigan and then you cross back into Wisconsin. It's like a patchwork of 2 states for like 100, 200 miles, any given which way. And so we have a lot of like cheese plants and cheese, like you get fresh cheese curds and stuff right off the factory line. And one of the big things up here is cheese curd pizza. And dude, that over mac and cheese, any given day. Like I love a good cheese curd on my pizza. You know, you're talking about KC's. We have a place up here, a BP gas station, and they do, well, Sitco does it too. They have their own like little pizza chain within the actual gas station. Sitco has a place called Hunt Brothers, which I'm not a fan of. It tastes like cafeteria. Yeah. It's just like shitty cafeteria pizza. But BP, I don't even know the name of the BP pizza that they make, but they make these, they're not even slices. They're like little personal pan pizzas that really do remind me of like the Pizza Hut pan pizza in terms of sauce and cheese content. Dude, for $4, they're really good. Like they slice them up into 4 little tiny slices. I will inhale one of those things on any given day.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you go after like 11 or 12 o'clock in the afternoon, they mark down what's been sitting under the heat lamp to like $2. Mm-hmm. Forget it, dude. I will eat those like crazy. I'm like I said, I'm cheap. I'm really big on saving. So when I see something marked down, I'm like, I'm going for that over the fresh.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, like a lot of gas stations, they'll carry like Piccadilly pizza.
I've seen Piccadilly.
Yeah, I've seen Piccadilly. I mean, and Piccadilly's all right. I don't mind Piccadilly. Another one that was big in Iowa was Godfather's.
Godfather's big around here.
Yeah.
In Green Bay especially. That and Rocco's.
Okay, Rocco's. Okay.
Yeah, Rocco's is kind of like Godfather's. Almost the same, I wouldn't say recipe, but very similar style and taste of pizza, but they have their own like chain restaurants, but they're also in gas stations too.
Okay, interesting. Wow. But here, I mean, yeah, but as far as pizzerias, oh gosh, there is a place in a little town called Kamar, Iowa, called Pickles Pub, and they have badass pizza there. They have really good pizza, and I was only able to go there maybe twice because I worked over in Webster City, which was maybe about a 15-minute drive away. So I was only able to go to it twice during my time in Webster City, which was kind of short. But yeah, like it was, that was some amazing pizza for, you know, and it was in a bar setting. It was kind of like a sports bar, just out in the middle of nowhere. And, just
that's where the best food is.
That's where the best food is at. There used to be a small town outside of the town I was from with 25,000 people. They had it was called the Otho Pub, and they used to have the best hash browns. And they would do all this mixed hash browns, and you could be like, what do you want with? Oh, I want like ham, and you know, you do all these toppings for it. You get it topped with cheese, and oh my gosh, like, oh.
Dude, you and I could do a food podcast. I could sit and talk with food with you for like hours, man.
I could totally do a food podcast. Like it is like food. Like there's a reason why I'm a skinny fat kid. Like,
dude, if I did a food podcast ever, I would want to be one where it was like in person and with a shit. Like Doug Benson used to do back in the day when he still does Doug Loves Movies, I believe. Mm-hmm. But when I was listening to him back in my late 20s, early 30s, he was one of those stoners who loved talking about food to the point where he started an offshoot podcast called Doug Loves Food. And he did it with this other female comedian who was a chef. I can't think of her name. But literally every episode, they'd meet with a new chef, and they would just spend an hour talking about the food they were eating that was being catered to them. That's the kind of food podcast I'd want to do with you, where we had somebody cooking different kinds of food with us. That would be amazing.
Like, and part of the plan of like Unfiltered was like it was going to be Tanner and I, and then I was like, we're going to do an offshoot where we go to different places within the Texas Panhandle, like some food eateries, and we go eat there and then go review their food. And there's a really good place in Amarillo. It's called Coyote Bluff. I mean, Big Texan gets all the press. Big Texan, if you talk to a real person from Amarillo, they'll be like, yeah, it's overrated. I know about like, 3 other spots that would really, that would blow the doors, blow the doors off of Big Texan. But the reason why Big Texan is so big is because of the 72-ounce steak, and it's right off I-40. Coyote Bluff is really good. Coyote Bluff has the burger from hell. I don't really exactly like the burger from hell, but their chili cheese fries, their green chili cheese fries, they are so good. They are like the best. And then there's a steakhouse off of I-27 called Green Chili Willie's, and they have the best chicken fried steak. They have a really good chicken fried steak.
I haven't had chicken fried steak in so long. Smothered in gravy sounds so good.
Yeah, it sounds so good.
I got loaded last night at the bowling alley. They don't. I mean, it's a bowling alley. Their menu was frozen pizza, fries, and all this stuff. But they had loaded tots.
Ooh.
I haven't had tater tots in forever, and they were the only thing that would have made them better is if they covered them in chili. It was just tater tots with ranch, onions, and cheese, and it was good. Don't get me wrong, but man, tater tots with chili and cheese.
Yeah,
you brought up chili cheese fries. I'm like, oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah. Oh, that would sound so good. Yeah.
Can you give me 3 minutes?
I can give you 3 minutes. Absolutely.
I'll be right back. Okay. I gotta go. As I get older, I've developed diverticulitis, and I can't hold it in as well as I used to in my younger years.
Oh, no problem.
I don't want to leave though because I'm having such a good time. I have to go to the bathroom, but I'll be right back.
No problem. I'll be right here. Okay, all right. I'm gonna read chat real quick. Drew, Mountain Mike's used good pepperoni when I worked there 20 years ago, and I used to go into Togo's and eat the display sandwich. Now, Drew, you got me curious. Like, what is a display sandwich? Is it with like all the meat and all the veggies and kind of like that? Because that does sound kind of good. And then I'm kind of curious on what jam pizza is now. So Drew, while I'm buying Doug some time, and if you see that, by all means, like, fill me in on what those are. But yeah, this has been really fun so far. I love talking food. Man, there's a lot of things I've really loved to talk about. Oh, sandwich of the day. Okay, got you. Okay, nice. I'm sure they have like different types of like sandwiches with, that's nice. That's cool. So there was a gas station when I was in Lake City, Iowa, Sparky's, and they were the gas chain that had Godfathers attached to it, and they would do catfish. And their catfish was bomb. Oh, their catfish was so good. If you can find a good place with catfish, oh, so good. Doug said pizza is his jam. I was just riffing. I got you, brother. Jam pizza. Okay.
So much better. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem. Hey, I was conversing with Drew, and I was like, well, what is the display sandwich? And he was like, it's sandwiches of the day. And then he was riffing off you for the jam pizza. And I was like, what on earth is a jam pizza? So I had to ask.
Oh, pizza's my jam is what he meant. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Dude, I love a good pizza.
Oh,
love a good pizza.
Yeah. There was another really good place that I ate at, and it was in Rapid City. It was on the east side of town. I can't remember the name of it because I should remember it because on my last day at work, we all had a work lunch there. And oh gosh, now I'm curious. So gosh, I got to look it up now. But it was really, really good.
When it comes to pizza, I am pretty basic. Like I said, pepperoni, mushroom, ham, and pineapple. But I do like trying fusion pizzas. We have a place right up the hill from where I live called Curious Pig, and it's like northern style barbecue, brisket, and all that stuff. And they make fusion pizzas where they make like brisket pizzas, pulled pork pizzas with jalapenos and chilies and stuff like that.
Okay.
It's not bad, but it's not like it's kind of like living in Chicago and having deep dish. It's like not something that most people in Chicago eat, but it's like when you go to visit Chicago, it's what you eat. And it's kind of like that. Like,
gotcha.
Sickies. What you're visiting,
is the name of the place. Sickies Garage. So if you decide to go out to Mount Rushmore on your way out, it's just right off I-90, and it's called Sickies Garage. It's got a really, really cool kind of rustic, like, really rustic automotive type of look, but it's got good food. So
I drove through Texas once in my life. When I left Florida. My initial plan was to move to California and try being a comedian. And it lasted all of 5 hours until I realized I couldn't afford to live in California. Like I was so messed up on opiates that I've just been listening to podcasts and getting high for like the last 6 years of living in Florida, that I convinced myself I can do this. I'm going to move out and I'm going to get a job at the Comedy Store. And then I got to California having no concept of how state taxes work. And I'm like, I stayed at Days Inn the entire trip across the country for like $63 a night. And I got to California. It's like, it's $140. And I'm like, I stayed at Days Inn like the last couple of days for $60. Like, yeah, well, you're in California now. Why did I bring that up? There was a reason I brought that up. You were just talking about something and it triggered my memory.
It was like road tripping. So like, yeah,
Texas. That's what it was. Texas. I'd never gone across the country my entire life up to that point. I've only been from Michigan to Florida, up and down. So when I left to go to California and make that trip, it was the first time I'd ever really kind of traveled across the country and saw different states. And Texas was hands down the most beautiful state I visited in the Union. I've heard that Montana is pretty beautiful and I've always wanted to go. But when I was in Texas, I didn't like Dallas. I didn't like Fort Worth, but I loved all of like the small rural parts of Texas that you went through, like a lot of the cattle farm ranch places. And as I got closer out west to like the Arizona border, all of the places in Texas that had like canyons and cactuses and trees growing out of the side of rocks and shit. And I stopped at a place if I went on Instagram and scrolled back like 8 years, I could probably find it because I took photos and talked about it. But it was a place that began with a D in Texas. And I stopped at this literally in the middle of nowhere. It was just like cattle ranches everywhere. And that was it. It was this little smokehouse barbecue joint off the side of the road. And I'm like, holy shit, I get what people talk about when they talk about Texas being the king of barbecue. Like, it was the best. And Buc-ee's, dude, I remember being like a kid in a candy store the first time I went into Buc-ee's. The bathrooms were so clean. Like, I felt so comfortable taking a dump in a Buc-ee's. usually like that entire trip across country, like every bathroom I stopped at, I layered the seat with toilet paper. I'm like, I'm not letting my butt touch the seat.
No.
But Buc-ee's, I'm like, I'll lick the food off the seat on this place. It's so clean.
You can literally eat off the floor in a Buc-ee's bathroom. I mean,
whoever came up with the concept of Buc-ee's deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. It's such a fascinating place, dude.
Oh, it's beautiful. Along with Buc-ee's, which I do like making a Buc-ee's run every now and then. There's some real, I really do love, I think a really underrated place is Rudy's, and Rudy's has a really good brisket. Like, if you stop at a Rudy's, try the brisket. It's pretty good, and always have the Rudy sauce.
Not Rudy, but I'll have to try that. Brisket is, when it comes to barbecue, hands down my favorite thing in barbecue. That and St. Louis style ribs. Ooh. In Florida, there was a place. I lived off MLK. Well, I didn't live off I lived down the road from MLK Boulevard. I worked off MLK Boulevard, but there was literally like a little shack. You walk in, it was under a canopy roof. It was an old black guy that had been there for like 40, 50 years. I think he's still there. Willie McCarter, across from the Imaginarium in MLK in Fort Myers, Florida. But back in the day, it was the prices have upped. But in the beginning, when I was there, it was $15 for a full rack of St. Louis style ribs. He would literally go out at 4 a.m. He'd start smoking ribs, and he'd close down around 7 to 8 at night. And he would take the ribs off the smoker. He'd sauce them up with his homemade sauce, wrap them in foil, and give them to you to go. His wife made homemade sweet potato pie. Aside from brisket, his St. Louis style ribs, like I don't hate baby back ribs or any other kind of rib, but I prefer St. Louis style ribs. The amount of fat and meat that you get on those things are so good. And I love gnawing on the cartilage on the end of those bones, man. Yeah. The only barbecue I haven't tried that I wanted to try when I was in Texas, but it was too rich for my blood, is the dinosaur rib, the big beef rib that you guys smoke are known for, that you smoke and pull the rib out. I wanted one of those, but it was like $30 for one rib. And I'm like, I can't justify it, especially if it's not going to be good. I'm sure it'll be good, but everyone's told me that Franklin's is like the place I needed to go to, but I'm like, I'm not waiting in line in Austin, Texas to get Franklin's. I'm just not doing it.
No. But I think another uniting force that kind of brings us all together is kind of the comedy scene. I mean, not so much, but like Sweeze and like Dalton and Dave and everything. So
I was surprised to meet you on Corn-Fed. Like,
Yeah.
that's where I initially met. I mean, I'd heard about you. Sweeze had talked you up for a while. And then I jumped. Dave's like, Ellie's going to be on it. And I don't remember. I didn't know who Ellie was at the time, but like Dave's like, if you want to come on after you're done, because we do our shows at the same time on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, if you want to jump on afterwards, you're more than welcome. And that's where I met you. And I'm like, okay, I see what Sweeze is talking about. This is a cool dude. And then I don't remember anything about that stream. I just know that I've had a lot of the corn-fed audience reach out to me like, Doug, you were like insanely in love with Ellie. And to be fair, I currently still am insanely in love with Ellie. She's a great chick, but
she is. She's wonderful. But I remember being on there and, hey, I let Ellie be the star of the show, and deservedly so. She, say what you will about, OF models, but I think she has a good head on her shoulders. She's very smart business wise. It's just every now and then, like, cause we follow each other on Instagram. So I have to like be mentally prepared for like ass cheeks. Like tatted ass cheeks, like boom, right in my face.
I love it.
And I brought that up, and Dalton had a kick out of it. I was like, because I was like, who's this Ellie Stockholm that Dalton and Dave managed to wrangle on this show? And I was like, okay, I'll do some research. I'll see what she's all about. And the first thing I encountered was boom. It was just tatted ass cheeks, and I was like. And I brought that up in the show, and it made Dalton chuckle a little bit. And then, of course, Ellie's like, "Of course, that's his first impression of me." But no, she was fantastic.
My only recollection of that night that I met you on that stream was I just come off doing Sibling Revelry, where I was drinking. I had killed a bottle of Maker's Mark, and I just happened to have I rarely carry whiskey in the house, but I happened to have a second one, and I was so nice and toasty and so enchanted and I've said this to her. Ellie is the kind of girl that I'm very much attracted to. She's very voluptuous and curvy, and that's my preferred woman. But on top of that, she's just got a great personality, and she's insanely smart and so funny and so kind. And hanging out, like, it's funny when anytime Dave's ever invited me on a corn-fed, I've always felt like the luckiest kid in the world, because I really did during the pandemic, before we started streaming, I fell in love with Dalton through Legion of Skanks. Yeah. Like the one appearance, he was on it twice. He was on it as a guest, and I'm like, I remember telling my brother, I'm like, this guy is one of the funniest guys I've ever seen. And I don't know who the hell he is or where he came from, but he's so just naturally funny. And then he came on again and made a comment like, somebody's funnier than Dave Smith. And I'm like, well, that just endeared me to you, because I'm not a Dave Smith fan. and when I met Dave Wright, and he's like, you got to come on the show I do with Dalton Pruitt. I'm like, absolutely, dude. Like, I would love to hang out. And I was really nervous. I think that stream that you were on that I came into was the first time I'd ever really met or talked to Dalton. And I was like really nervous, because I do respect him as a comedian. I don't know if he considers himself a comedian or if he even does comedy, stand up at all, or just does streaming at this point. But I think pound for pound, in the people I've met in my life, Dalton is naturally one of the funniest people, who just makes me laugh at the drop of a hat, to the point where we did have both of those guys on as a guest. We did a crossover where they came on our show, and then we went off the air and went on to their show. And Dalton was just great, because my brother is a very, I don't want to say straight-laced, but he was in the Navy. He used to work for the government. So like, he has a mind for like how taxes and the government works and business and stuff like that. And I don't. And we were sort of talking about shit, and Dalton, I think, said something that just floored me, that made me laugh so hard. He was just like, the thing about bills and taxes is you don't have to pay them. Eventually they'll stop calling you. But when I went on that show with you and Ellie that first night, I remember being a bottle of Maker's Mark in, and it's funny. I remember being on Maker's Mark. Past that, I don't remember the show. And for an entire week after it, I kept thinking to myself, I wonder if her breasts are real or fake. I can't tell. And then Sweeze posted a clip a week later of us on the show where I literally am so drunk, and Dalton goes, does anybody in the room have a question for Ellie? I'm like, I got a question. I've got a couple Maker Marks in. Ellie, are your boobs real? And she's like, no. I'm like, I can't believe for a week I totally forgot that. I already asked her that and had the answer and completely forgot about it. But what I thought was really cool, which I did, like Paul will tell you, like because I was texting with him afterwards. I thought the coolest part of that was like the next morning I woke up and she had started following me and started DMing me because she was curious about how I had said that I was an asexual person, that I wasn't really into sex and stuff. And like I remember telling my brother, I'm like, it's weird, like this woman has like 60 some thousand followers and she just followed me and started DMing me. And like that never and that I think that's really where I fell in love with her as a person. Like I'm just so not used to a beautiful woman who has such a large following and a large presence and a personality that like get interested in me, you know.
Yeah.
It was really fascinating. And then we got to have her on and she was cool as shit, and we got married, fake married, and got to meet her. You know, it's just like you said, like that comedy community and Swedes, like the interactions and the crossover. It's if anything, it's been nothing but a blessing. Like I've gotten to meet and talk to so many cool people that I've respected for a long time that I never thought I'd be able to talk to. Dalton being one of those people, to the point where I've been on Corn-Fed, I think 2 other times. The last time I came in as a guest, it was Leighton. It was Leighton, Ellie, and I want to say Drew from Do-Rag and the Deer Tag, Drew Montana. And I came in late where everyone was already gone. We finished doing our show and I went on as the guest, and we did like another 2 hours where I was just having a great time with both Dave and Dalton. And then we went off the air and talked for like another hour and a half and I felt like I was I don't know if I always get in my head about like, am I being over complimentary? But I kept telling Dalton, like, I know that because I read Dalton's Twitter and I know that he was going through like a period of like depression. Am I doing the right thing? Is this even worth it? Like there's nobody, you know, and all that kind of shit. I'm like, dude, kind of like Sweeze does for me. I'm like, if it's any consolation, like, dude, your shit keeps me going the way my shit tends to keep Sweeze going. You know what I mean? Like it was just an hour and a half of like, Dalton, seriously, like I get the depression aspect. I have it myself, but like you need to know that like you are one of the naturally funniest people I've ever met in the world. Like keep doing what you're doing, even if you don't think it's worth a damn. It's worth a damn to somebody else.
It is, yeah.
So it is nice in that sense where you brought up like being a crossover with the comedy community and shit like that. Like it's a great aspect because you ultimately realize like it's like when we had Alan Covert or Josh Eppert on, like is these people that I've idolized for years. It's like I idolize you, and then I start talking to you and I'm like, oh, you're just a guy like me who has the same insecurities and the same problems, and you know, the grass always looks greener, if that makes any sense.
It does. And I mean, one of my I guess more nobler ambitions of having Unfiltered is to be like the tide that raises all ships. And I think when we have our crossovers, like I know eventually, you know, I'll probably hop on to.
You're coming on.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up before the show ended, but I'm going to book you as a guest for sure.
Cool. And I appreciate it. And I humbly accept the offer.
You better.
Yeah. I wouldn't hear the end of it from Sweeze. And then also Corn-Fed as well, like in getting to know Dave and Dalton to a lesser extent, but I do know that I want to get Dalton on Unfiltered sometime in season 2. I just know that he's going on a sabbatical right now, but I feel like comedy wise, he's on his best arc. Not because like angst makes art, but these really like these attractive ladies, you know, these internet girls, they post up a sexy picture of them.
What are you getting into later?
What are you getting? You know, what are you getting into tonight? And it's like, you know, and there was one that was just golden. Dalton's like, "What are you getting into tonight?" And she responds, "Well, nothing." And he's like, you know, just being by myself. And he's like, "Room for one more?" And she's like, "No." And he posts up a Wayne Gretzky graphics like you miss the 100% shots you don't take.
The shots you don't take.
And it was money. That was one of my I cackled when I read that. Like it was so fantastic. And I usually don't cackle. I usually will chuckle a little bit. I'll maybe you know, that's pretty good. There was another one that involved like there's another guest on the channel. He's coming up on Easter, Lord Diaz, and he had a response that made me like burst out in laughter because it was over this internet clown that in get this, I tried to get the guy that now we kind of we dunk on a little bit. I tried to get him on for like the first season of the show, and I've told this story like a million times now, but I tried to pre-record with him because he was so scared of his detractors, of his trolls or whatever you want to call them. And I'm like, hey, no problem. We'll pre-record the show. That won't be a problem. And we set up a time, and I'm sitting there for like an hour, and he ghosts me. I find out later that he was snorting snow live on Kick, and he got banned for 3 days because of it. And then a half hour before I went live, because I pivoted, and that's where I reached out to Dave, and I was like, hey, Dave, do you want to come on? Because Dave's usually really cool. Like, he's in the clutch, like Dave's amazing. And Dave just has to be given a little bit of a heads up. And when that happened, I reached out to Dave. I was like, hey, Dave, like, do you want to hop on? Do you want to scoot up a week sooner? Because originally he was going to be bumped to a week later, and he was like, yeah, no problem. So I was like, it was Dave's original date anyways. So we got Dave on. We had an amazing show, and yeah, it was kind of crazy. And then a half hour, like 90 minutes before the show, like PWR reaches out to me, and he was like, I'm so sorry. Like, he has this really like nasally Atlantic Canadian accent. Like CJ, who's also a Canadian, like he's like, I don't claim this guy as a Canadian. We could just shoot him in the ocean for all we care. Yeah, CJ's
he was too busy down at the Tim doing cocaine, eh?
Yeah. And what's crazy is he was drinking while doing cocaine. Now I'm okay with like, hey, drink away, whatever gets you really nice and comfortable. I want it to be an enjoyable experience for you as it is for me. But yeah, this dude, he was like he didn't know either he wanted to be high or low. And usually that messes you up. That puts you in the hospital pretty quick. And I tried promoting him on that Monday because I was like, oh, it's going to be a big show. There's going to be a huge audience. People are going to be interested. And then I learned that, he snorted snow live on stream. That's why we couldn't find his channel after we went off air, because he got banned on Kick. And then a guy that was a former producer, or he was an editor for like a few bigger channels like Drama Alert, and he was saying, oh yeah, by hot he means getting high on stream, and ended up stripping down naked and going to the hospital. And
oh wow,
yeah. And I was like, holy shit. Like, and I DM'd the guy. I was like, I am so sorry, I did not know this is going on. And I distanced myself from this guy so fast. Like, I put out like a statement. I was like, hey, we can't have him on the show. His behavior was unacceptable. We will pivot, and we will make our announcement known within the next few days. And boom, that's when Dave popped on. And it's been good ever since. So, and then one of the guys that let me know what was going on, now he's going to be a guest on the show for Easter. So it all comes awesome. Full circle. Yeah, it's crazy.
I never did anything. I mean, Coke was never my thing. During streams and stuff, obviously I'll have a few drinks here and there. Honestly, it's not my go-to, but it's what I can do now within I love my job personally. So like, I'm not willing to chance anything harder than having a few drinks. Mm-hmm. But back in the day, like, I would get stoned on stream quite often, because like, I live in a legal state. So it's not really, nobody really gives a shit anymore where I live when it comes to that. But there is one episode of our show we did where a buddy of mine who no longer lives up here came into some pure MDMA, and he gave me a whole bunch of them. This was like 4 years ago, maybe. And he's like, can you sell these? And I'm like, sure, I can sell them. And I'm like, I'm not going to sell these. I'm going to do these every Saturday and listen to Mac Miller for 5 hours. And that's exactly what I did. And one night there's only one episode, and I don't know the episode number, but I know the guest that was on, where I didn't say anything to anybody. I went off to go use the restroom. I came back, I popped the MDMA capsule, and I'm sitting on the stream, and you could tell about 40 minutes in towards the end, I start doing this, and I get really, I'm like, hey, Paul, I really love you, dude. And he's like, yeah, I love you too. I really love you, dude. He's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm on Molly right now. Like, that's the only time I've ever done that. But yeah, coke, I don't think I could ever do on a stream. It's never been my thing. I was never an uppers guy. I've always been more of a downer guy. But I don't know. When it comes to alcohol on a stream, like, it's a good social lubricant. I get people who don't drink. I totally understand that. But for me, when it comes to like having to be in front of a camera and be honest, not necessarily be honest, but just kind of like talk, it does help loosen up the bridges. Because without this, there's people online on Twitter who've met me in real life. Like Paul and I have been fortunate enough to meet some of our online friends. And when they meet me, they're like, you're nothing like you are on the stream. Like good example. There's a wonderful woman named Forest Mommy who has a pretty big following on Twitter. And she's one of my brother's best friends. She's one of my close friends, actually. And we've met in real life a couple times, and we went to see Creed live 2 years ago. Creed was on the summer of '99 tour. They came to Green Bay, and her parents happened to live like a good hour away from where my brother and I live. So we met up at her parents' house. We spent the night there. We went and saw Creed, and we were in the hotel room, and I'm very quiet in real life. I'm not a real talkative person. I'm to an autistic level. My father thinks that I have undiagnosed autism, and which would make sense. I probably have some form of Asperger's, but her father, when we went to stay at her place, like they were just being normal parents, trying to get to know their child's friends and whatnot. And afterwards, she's like, my dad thought you were autistic because all you did was stare at the wall and didn't say a word. I'm like, that's who I am in real life. Like, I'm not this opens me up. And don't get me wrong, like I do get a little loosey goosey, and I tend to go on tangents and stuff and forget my train of thought, but I don't think I could do a stream without it, which is a weird, sad thing to say in some regards. It's to use it as a crutch, but it opens me up, and it gets me more talkative where I normally wouldn't be in real life or on a stream. I would probably just sit here and let you do the talking.
Oh.
However, I do have a train of thought that I wanted to follow up on. Yeah. You said something about how Dalton made you, like, put out a tweet that made you cackle. 2 tweets that have, like, I'm the kind of guy that I do love comedy, but as I've gotten older, it takes a lot to make me laugh out loud, like genuinely guttural laugh where I gotta catch my breath. Doesn't happen often. 2 tweets recently have done exactly what you were talking about, where I did more than chuckle. Dalton's tweet was one of them. He posted a photo a couple days ago of him naked in a mirror, in a bathroom mirror, holding his phone with a fake dick, like, blurred out.
Yeah, just that was so good.
Condom or raw, and I laughed so hard for a good 10 minutes at that photo. The only other tweet that has done that, and I read this tweet out loud, I think last week or the week before on Sibling Revelry, it was a tweet that Sweeze made, because I genuinely am friends with Tanner. I've never met Tanner in real life. He's one of the few people online that I would give anything to hang out with for a good day. But I know him pretty well, and I know the history with Swizzle and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Sweeze made a tweet. I had pulled it up when you started talking about Dalton's tweet making you chuckle. I pulled up this tweet because I have it bookmarked. On March 1st, Sweeze made a tweet that, I'm not kidding, made me laugh out loud. And then for the next week, I would go back to it and start laughing at it all over again, where he wrote, my one day off and almost got called in because someone's brother got arrested last night. Brothers get arrested all the time. You still got to make your shift at the Wendy's. That tweet had me fucking done. I can't, Sweezy, I know you're watching. I cannot overstate how I went back to that multiple times just to make you laugh. Sweeze is one of the greatest people I've ever had the fortune of coming in contact with, and he really does make me laugh and makes me want to be better at what I do. And just I love the dude. I truly love that. I will never not forget that tweet. There are some tweets that I think are so good I bookmark them and I go back to them, and that is one of them. Brothers get arrested all the time. Still got to make a trip to the Wendy's. That's something you'd hear in a Friday movie that Ice Cube wrote. Dude. You would.
So I knew Sweeze from my college days at West Texas A&M. And Tanner has like some comedic genius to him because
He really does.
it was really icy and we still had to go to campus, like to go have classes, whatever. And he got these, and I'm laughing just thinking about it because they were so golden. But he posted on Facebook; it wasn't on Twitter. He had pictures of these girls, like with these UGG boots, and like they were improperly dressed for the weather, slipping and sliding on the ice, and they're about to biff it. And I don't know, I don't know how he found these pictures, but he had these pictures posted, and each and every time I think back at that, it makes me belly laugh. It makes me like keel over in the chair, like, and start laughing because I was like, how on earth did Tanner get photos of these bitches slipping and sliding and falling on their faces on the ice on campus? Like, was he just like hanging out and then he just sees someone slip and then he takes a picture as they're falling? Like,
he's an inadvertent comedic genius, and I don't think he realizes it. He really is. Yeah. I think Squeeze posts some things that just genuinely make me chuckle out loud. I'm like, dude, you should be doing so much more. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. He is, when it comes, I can't speak for your show, but for our show, for Corn Fed, for most of the Gas Digital shows, he is the number one hype man. And I do know that like Luis Gomez started following him recently, and I honestly would love, there's nothing more I would love than anything to see Sweeze show up as a guest on either Durag and the Deer Tag or some Gas Digital show. Sweeze should be doing, don't get me wrong, I hope you're happy at Wendy's. I truly do. But Sweeze is the kind of guy who needs to be in front of a camera doing something. And I think it was Dalton or somebody on Corn Fed said Sweeze came out, was it like a week or two ago, where he's posting like pictures of like merch for Sweeze and Swizzle podcast for like shirts and stuff like that, which I want one. I really do want one. I think they're great. But somebody's like, he's the only guy who started making merch before he started doing the podcast. And I'm like, that's what makes him a genius. That's what makes him a fucking genius, man. His head's in the game.
He is the ultimate hype man. It's just the only downfall with Tanner is, man, if he followed through and he went on to things and he'd be consistent without life throwing him monkey wrenches all the time, because life does throw a lot of monkey wrenches.
I mean, that.
Like the one time, like Swizzle came home drunk and decided to sock Tanner in the eye. No laughing matter, but yeah, like man, I was like, man, if Tanner could get his act together, man, like people would line up for Sweeze, because he has so many interesting life experiences and he has like these weird happenstances. Like, he'll go to like Skankfest or whatever, and he'll get into a weird adventure and then he turns it into an epic. And I was like, oh man, he could have a really good book.
We had him on the weekend he was at this last Skankfest in NOLA. He came on, I don't know, it hadn't been the second night, it was Saturday, because we do our show on Saturdays, but he was just getting done with C Dumps and somebody else, and they were going back to the hotel, and we got Tanner to stream into the show from his phone and give us like live we had it with Black Mark too, the Darkness on Twitter. He was also at Skankfest NOLA, and it was awesome. It was like, because my brother, I'm pretty sure he's quit now, but my brother recently started smoking pot at the age of 40, like 6 months ago. And it's become a thing, because I quit smoking 6 months ago, and I've been smoking pot for 14, 15 years. So now we've reversed roles. And he's like the guy that I used to be, that he talked about being this annoying stoner, he's now that guy. And he's, because of weed, he got into music for the first time. My brother's never been a music guy. He got into music for the first time, and he started getting into comedy, and specifically Gas Digital shit. Like my brother actually, along with Sweeze, has like a friendship with Luis J. Gomez back and forth on Twitter. And when he got into it, like, he's like, let's do an episode where like we have all of our friends who are guests that we know are at Skankfest, like stream into the show from Skankfest. Mark was on while like you could see like this Ferris wheel in the background and all that stuff. Sweeze was in his hotel room and he's like getting ready to power down, but it was one of the best times. And in a weird way, I do agree with you. Like, I would like to see him actually do the podcast and get it off the ground. But at the same time, it almost, in a fun, in like a nerdy, in a comedy nerd, wrestling nerd kind of way, feels like Tanner is doing like an Andy Kaufman, where he's like, yeah, I'm going to get around to the show, but check out the merch first. Like, you know what I mean? Like just trolling us, which to me, if that's what he's doing, chef's kiss. It's comedic genius. I either way, whether he does the show or doesn't do the show and keeps doing what he's doing, I'm here for it, and I'm always going to have his back. And I DM with him pretty regularly, and he constantly hits me up like in the mornings, like when I'm getting ready to do my morning shift at 5:30. Like, I'll open up my phone before I get ready to go, and I'll have like a series of DMs from him. And I'm like, God, I'm so glad this dude's in my life. Like, I genuinely love Sweeze. Sweeze is one of those guys where over the course of time that I known him, when I first interacted with him, I really enjoyed him. And then he had like this crash out where he started lashing out at us, me. and we had our back and forth. And there was a period where like I cut him off and I'm like, I don't need to deal with this, man. Like, I've dealt with enough of that kind of stuff in my 20s and 30s. I don't care. I'm beyond that. And then I realized what was going on. And I'm like, you know what? My brother said it best. Everybody deserves a second chance. And now I have one of the best relationships with Sweeze, to where we do regularly talk and shit like that. And I genuinely love that guy. There's been periods where like I've opened up my phone and I've checked my email. It's like, you've got a PayPal balance of $200. And I'm like, what? And I go onto it, and he just randomly sent me $200. Like, hey man, I really love what you and your brother do. Like, you guys really help me out and get me through the week. I want you to have this. And I refunded every time, because if you would have caught me in the 12 years that I was an opiate addict, that $200 would have gotten cashed out and gone to pills. Yeah. But I immediately sent it back, and I'm like, no, I appreciate that, dude. You don't have to give me anything. The fact that you hype us up and talk about us and have a communicative relationship, that is worth more than any monetary value to me. I've said this before. My brother, in the beginning, we talked about monetizing the show. We do have a locals page, kind of like Patreon. It's Rumble's version of Patreon, where people subscribe for $5 a month. They can get the back catalog. We've done some episodes that we never actually aired that you can see. And I'm like, we make enough to break even and cover the cost of StreamYard. And I'm like, I don't need money. Like, when I was a kid, the thing that I loved the most was I'm a big comic book nerd. And as a kid in the 90s, the coolest part about reading comics wasn't just the story, but at the back of the issues, you'd have the fan letter columns where fans would write into the editor and they talk about why they were amazing. And I have countless issues of comics where my letters were printed. And in some of the image books, like the Max and Spawn specifically, they used to have a snail mail fan page where like, you like this, why don't we become friends through snail mail? And I had a letter that was printed in the back of a Max issue, and I had a bunch of friends who we'd mail each other like prank phone calls, cassette tapes, comic books and stuff like that, homemade artwork, stickers. And doing the show now, like, that's what it's weird to say. It's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a selfish way to look at it in some regards, but like, I don't care about paying bills off the show or doing what we do. I value the fun shit. Like, we have a guy who watches our show who lives in the Netherlands, and he took it upon himself to make stickers for our show.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's fucking amazing. And he sent me a batch of them, and then he started sending us photos and posting them on Twitter of him posting our faces all over Amsterdam and all over the Netherlands and shit on light poles and stuff. And Sweeze, I look at as one of those guys. It's like, I don't need money. I don't need anything. Like, the fact that I have people who genuinely show up and like what we do, that means more than any paycheck could ever possibly mean. It to me, it validates what we believed for so long. My brother and I have always thought we were kind of funny. It was our cousin, our cousin Connie, who always, at the beginning of the pandemic, before we started streaming, my cousin Connie, is married to a guy who has a TV show on the Hunting Channel on satellite. I don't know what the channel number is, but it's a show called Hardcore Pursuit. He travels the country and he hunts big game stuff. And up until 2 or 3 years ago, they had a hunting store called Hardcore Outfitters, where it was, if you lived in the Midwest and Upper Peninsula, it was where you went to get bows, rifles, hunting gear, shit like that. And they made a pretty good amount of money. And my brother and I would used to go there and hang out with my cousin as she was working the register and shit. And one day, right before the pandemic kicked off, she said, "You guys should have your own shows. Like listening to you talk, it's so funny because you're so self-deprecating and shit on each other that it's hilarious." And we started doing it. And honestly, like I think in the beginning, like we did it just to kill time. I never in a million years thought we'd have 300 people tune into us every Saturday. But Sweeze, like going back to Sweeze, it's one of those guys where it's like, there is something to it. Like I don't need to pay bills off it, but there is something to it. People get something out of my brother and I fucking with each other, or my brother and I talking with somebody, you know. It really is. And doing the show with you now, like it reminds me, because I do have, much like Dalton, I have a lot of self-doubt in myself. I have a lot of insecurity, and it's nice to know that there are people out there where I'm not alone, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
Oh, it makes perfect sense. There was a lot of endeavors I've done that have just, never really gained any traction or, but I think for the longest time, like, since we met in college, Sweeze was always like a big believer in me. And sometimes you need that hype man to be like, man, I'm so much of a big fan of you. Like, oh man, you're so inspirational. And I'm just like, dude, all I'm doing is just working jobs and just trying to promote my work. And then I remember just really not being happy in Rapid City. And I saw Sweeze wanting to do the Sweeze and Swizzle podcast. And I was like, Sweeze, we could do something. You have background in pro wrestling and in comedy. And then you have an interesting life. Like, and it's inadvertent. Like, I mean, I don't know if he goes and finds it or not, but something interesting always pops up in the life of Sweeze. He really just needs to write a book. He should really string people along with the show, and then just out of nowhere, boom, hit people up with a book.
It's the perfect marketing troll. It really is. Like, I don't care. Dude, I would love to see a Sweeze and Swizzle podcast. I'd love to see a Sweeze podcast. If I never see one, I'm happy with what I have, but I agree with you. He should write a book. Like, and even if it's like, there's been a lot of alluding to Louis J. Gomez's book being written by Chat GPT or ghost written by Sam Talent. But even if that's the case, like if it's entertaining somebody, who gives a shit? You know what I mean? I would read Sweeze's book. I'm team Sweeze all the way. Like I'd lay down for that dude. I genuinely love him, man. And I want more from him. But even if it is just like an elaborate Andy Kaufman troll, like I'm good with that too, dude, because it's entertaining. And on top of being entertaining, like I said, he's such a good fucking guy. Like he has the best fucking heart. It's hard to find people who have a good heart anymore, and he does. Like he has a big heart, man, and I love that guy so much. And we've had him on the show I think 3 times, and I've tried to get him on since then, but he's so busy. I know that him and I have talked recently. I'm going on spring break March 30th to April 4th. I'm going to be off from work for an entire week, and I plan on doing some movie. I do 2 other shows besides Sibling Revelry. Like I said, sporadically, I do the Dugout, which is basically I just watch movies with people or TV shows. I stream them. It's kind of like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 thing. And I do a show called Self-Loathing, which is, when I was younger, I wanted to get into radio so bad. And Self-Loathing is kind of like that version of me, where like I listen to music, I'll watch TV shows, I'll just kind of vent about the shit that bothers me. But Sweeze and I've talked, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to be on spring break from this point to this point. I know how it started. With Sweeze reached out to me and he's like, dude, I told him that I got my hands on the 2 seasons that Big J Okerson did a show back in the day for CISO. CISO used to be an NBC app that no longer exists, and it was all comedy. And it had a lot of original comedy, and it had a lot of old comedy specials that you could get at the click of a button. You get every episode of SNL. What was really cool about it is you could go on it and literally punch the face of an SNL cast member that you loved and find every sketch that they were ever in. It was so great, and they did away with it. But Big J Okerson had a show called What's Your Fucking Deal for 2 seasons, and it was a crowd work show where he'd bring on his favorite comedians, and they do crowd work with an audience at the bitter end in New York. And I had the first season for the longest time. I lost the second season when one of my hard drives went down. I recently found the second season, and I started rewatching it on I did it on Self-Loathing, I think, not the Dugout. But Sweeze reached out to me. He's like, dude, I want to rewatch that show with you. And I'm like, I'm going to be off for a week. Like, you tell me what days you have free from Wendy's. I will make sure that you and I watch what's your fucking deal. Like, anything I can do to get Squeeze on a stream, I will do my best to do it. And most of the time it's a scheduling conflict where like he's working or I'm working, but I think he should be, there's no reason he shouldn't be on Gas Digital. There's no reason he shouldn't be on other podcasts. Like, Squeeze is just, he's a gem. He's a wonderful human being. He's a great heart. He's one of the best people I've ever come across in this life, man. Yeah. I love that guy so much.
Well, there you go. Squeeze, clip it and ship it, dude. Because Doug loves you. I love you too.
Shout out, dude. One of the best things, it was one of those moments where I'm like, I know that guy and I'm proud to know that guy. One of my favorite comedians is Kurt Metzger. Okay. I know a lot of people kind of like are tempered with Kurt because Kurt is a big conspiracy theorist and he tends to throw a lot at you all at once. But pound for pound, one of the best joke writers. And he does a live stream called The Derp with Kerp occasionally. It's not like a regular thing. But somebody, and I think Squeeze might have clipped it, but it was one of those moments where I'm like, I know Squeeze and I'm proud to know Squeeze, where somebody paid his super chat to say, shout out Sumo Dog. And Kurt Metzger's like, I don't know what Sumo Dog is, but shout out Sumo Dog. And I'm like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. In Sumo Dog, man, the Sumo Dog has become almost like a meme within kind of our community.
He's got his own bumper sticker.
He does.
Fucking Lily Abernathy and Chris Elliott, artist Chris Elliott, made a fucking great sticker for Sumo Dog, and I'm like, that's the coolest shit. That's the shit I was talking about. Like, having people who just make shit because they love what you do. It's the fucking best. And I need to get a Sumo Dog sticker. I want to put one on my car.
I do too. Sumo made an appearance like on the first time I had Squeeze. And then when I think it was an early episode within Unfiltered, where his mom walks into him while he's having a show, and it's freaking gold. Because Kale Steed, who he was my season finale, and he's one of my best friends. He watched the episode where his mom walked in on Squeeze's mom walked in on Squeeze during the show. And Kale lost it. Like, he thought it was so funny. Just Mama Squeeze walked in on Squeeze while he's just having a show. And yeah. And I do think that, you know, Tanner, he hypes himself so much, and he loves, you know, he loves what you guys do. He loves what Dalton does. And sometimes he gets a little jittery. I'm just like, Squeeze, just breathe, man. That's all you can do. And the zingers will come your way. Like, you'll have some really good one-liners. You'll have some really good zingers. Just, man, the best thing I always tell people is just, hey, breathe. It's just, you know, if things go wrong, they go wrong. But for the most part, everybody's all in good company. Like, I don't think I've had anybody on the show where I'm like, oh man, he sucked. It's everybody I've had. I'm like, dude, I want to bring them back. Like, and it's going to happen sooner or later. I'm going to bring them back. Yeah.
I share the same sentiment with you. Most of the people that guest on our show are people who've been on it multiple times because we've had such a good, I say this, we usually try and cap our show at 3 hours, but if it goes beyond 3 hours, that's the sign of a good guest. Like, it means that we're not, I'm speaking for me, not my brother, but it means I'm not bored. I want to talk to you more, you know? We've only ever had 2 people actually 3 people that I will never in a million years try and get back on our show. And I've lost communication with them, rightfully so. One of them, who was it now that I'm trying to think? I know Rose, Colin, and there was another guy. There were 3 people that we were trying to get on the show. And Jasmine St. Clair, the porn star, who's now like, doesn't want to talk about porn. She just wants to talk about her amateur wrestling career. But like, we've had these bad interactions with these people, and it's like, like, my brother is more cavalier than I am. He's like, I'm not going to shit talk him. I'm like, I will, because they made me sit through fucking hell. Like, we had one guest. It's funny. Like, we've only had it's funny because Jasmine and this other guy never even actually came on the show. We had such a bad interaction the day leading up to the show that they never even bothered showing up. But one guest in particular showed up, and it was like, I would have rather been waterboarded than sit and talk to this person. Like, it was one of the most annoying people I've ever come across. And it wasn't leading up to it, it was like, oh, this will be kind of interesting based on like your Twitter feed and stuff. But then you get to start talking to the person. It's like, you laugh at your own jokes. You think you're funnier than you are. You cut my brother and I off left and right to tell you how much, like I was literally having, I think, a mimosa or some kind of concocted drink that I made. And she's like, oh, I make the best ones, laughing at every joke she made. And I'm like, but unfortunately that's only happened like that the handful of times. For the most part, the people that come on, if we really go past the 3-hour mark, I'm like, you're coming back on. Like, I want to talk to you more. Like 3 hours isn't enough. And we've been fortunate enough to have that. And I'm pretty sure it's going to happen with you, because you and I've been talking for a couple, 2 hours now.
Yeah.
Like I'm definitely having you on. But like Sweeze is one of those guys where, like I said, I'd have him back on in a heartbeat. It's just a matter of like lining it up in his schedule and whatnot. But yeah, it's funny. It's funny, this little world that we're all a part of now, post pandemic.
Oh yeah, it's a brave new world. But yeah, like it's kind of crazy because you know, I know some people from the world of professional wrestling, and then like recently I've gotten into I kind of dipped my toes into your guys' realm with comedy podcasts, and then now like nowadays. It's been with kind of the other lolcow commentators. It's like, okay. And then I was like, dude, you know, people were hyped about CJ, and I'm just the guy that's like that he can riff off of. And then I'll get on my soapbox every now and then, because I guess it's a fresh perspective, but it's preaching to the choir. Sure. And then and then I've started getting like, you know, I was like, you know what? I could just do collabs with these people and see what happens. And that's kind of, and then you're the tide that raises all ships, and you want everybody to succeed, and you root for everybody. And that's, I think at the end of the day, that's what we all want is, you know, hey, how can we lift up our friends and our favorite people and get them out to a wider audience, and, you know, and have some episodes that we can go back, like the corn-fed episode with Ellie and you and me and Gundog, and Sweeze made an appearance, and then Robbie came in towards the end, where it was almost like a super episode.
I love Robbie, and I have yet to talk with him on a stream. I invited him to come on our show, and for him, again, it's a matter of scheduling. But I did make a comment to him recently this past week where he was all for it. I told him I got to reach out to him in DM, but like when I'm on spring break, I don't know, for whatever reason, I think it's because his sense of humor, but like somebody posted something about Adam Sandler, that movie he did, Jack and Jill, where he plays himself and his sister, and it's a terrible movie. I'm like, I think I tweeted like, I kind of want to rewatch this movie and have Robbie Goodwin as the second commentator, because for whatever reason in my mind, I think Robbie would add to this commentary so well. And Robbie reached out and he's like, I'll do it. Let me know when you want to do it. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, I've never had him on as a guest, but I love Robbie. I think Robbie's very funny, you know? But yeah, I'd love to do that with him too. And it is like, not to keep going back to Swizzle, like I do have one episode that I did with Swizzle. Like, I always wanted to get Swizzle on as a guest. When Swizzle got out of I don't know if you call it jail or prison, summer camp, but when he got out, he was doing I don't know if he did more than one, but he did one episode of a podcast that his own thing that I really enjoyed. And I'm struggling to think of the name of it now. It's some Divine Introspection, I think it was called.
It was interesting.
And I enjoyed the hell out of it, because as somebody who was a former addict, like he spoke to me like on the like just in his version, his terms, you know, and I really identified with it. And I invited him to be on. It's still on my YouTube channel. I think I only streamed it to YouTube, but I did a New Year's Eve special. I called it something ridiculous, like Douglas's New Year's Eve pro-am, celebrity pro-am extravaganza, something ridiculous. And I had a ton of people on from our show that were guests and friends off Twitter and stuff. And Swizzle came on, and I did not. I haven't watched it since we aired, but I had a guest, one of my friends on, Hog Dog, who was a great dude. He's a fan of ours. He works on crashed airplanes. That's like what his job is. Like, he goes and like when an airplane or an aircraft crashes somewhere, he gets called in to go clean it up and like repair and stuff like that. He's like a mechanic, but he is hardcore. He's a hardcore Gen Xer like me. He's from that era, and like he's like my brother. He says the hard R on the N word and does not really give a shit, you know. And he's a good dude, but like Swizzle came on. I invited Swizzle to come on. Sweeze couldn't make it for some reason. I can't remember why, but Swizzle came on, and Swizzle came in much like Hog Dog, came in hot. You know what I mean? Like had a few pops in him already.
Oh my gosh.
And I remember like we were all having a good time. And then as soon as those two met for like an hour and a half until I decided to end the stream, it was two different personalities, both lit up, bashing heads. And I don't like Swizzle didn't know who Hog Dog was, and Hog Dog didn't know who Swizzle was, and they both didn't realize that they were just fucking with each other and started to take it seriously. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever I mean it wasn't bad, don't get me wrong, it's still up on my YouTube channel, you can go watch it, but it was one of those moments where I'm like, you guys would get along so well if you just met each other without having any substance influencing your outlook on the other one. You know what I mean? Like it was wild.
Yeah, that's how I felt with Swizzle. Like, and I knew Swizzle when he was in college too. And Swizzle, super nice guy. You got to get him away from the substances. I love him. Yeah, me too. And it was just, I remember Sweeze shooting me messages at like 2 to 4 in the morning. The witching hour, that should be renamed the Sweeze hour, because 3 in the morning, I can count on Sweeze giving me a message and being really encouraging, or he's crashing out over something. For a while when we first started Unfiltered, like he and Ed butted heads because Ed had a schedule that he abided by, and he was asleep by like, you know, he was in bed by 3 or 4, and we had a group chat. And that was the only time, because, you know, Sweeze is coming home from work and he's writing off that work adrenaline, which I understand. So he's just shooting like six messages, 6 like paragraphs full of information at 3 o'clock in the morning, and irritated the hell of how irritated the shit out of Ed. And then before that, well, Tanner didn't really make a good impression on Ed by talking about Ed's bowel movements, and that didn't sit well with Ed. Which is, I mean, it's a total Sweeze move. I laugh at it, and I'm like, dude, it's Sweeze. Like, Sweeze is Sweeze. He's harmless. He ain't gonna hurt you. I had to caress Ed and be like, look, like not literally, but I had to be like, look, Sweeze is not a bad guy. He is harmless. He is, you know, he's coming off that work adrenaline, and I understand it. And, you know, just bear with it. You'll be okay. Sure. And, but you know, Swizzle, at one point, he, like, when they first wanted to bring back the Sweeze and Swizzle podcast, Sweeze was like, hey, Swizzle is like he wants to bring in these pimps and these prostitutes. And Sweeze is like, no, we can't do that. Like, what are we doing? Like, so I think that was like one of the disagreements they had. And it is what it is. I mean, I think like if Swizzle did more of those divine, you know, those.
It's so good.
Yeah. Like if he did more of those, I'd be like, dude, I think Swizzle is on something. And then you do like an adventure of Sumo Dog, like Sumo, like you have a camera, like you put a GoPro on Sumo Dog, or you keep a camera on Sumo Dog 24/7. And I bet you that would be probably the highest rated show on the Sweeze and Swizzle podcast channel.
People love dogs, dude.
Yeah.
I agree with you. You know, in a weird way, we were talking earlier about like Sweeze, if it's like an Andy Kaufman troll, like one of the things like that I think cemented it's funny because in the beginning when it all happened, it definitely was like one of those things where I think Tanner apologized for it, but now it's become so absurdly funny. The Swizzle reaching out to Josie Marcelette, I can't pronounce her last name, but saying like, did those tits fart or something, like those boobs fart?
What?
To the point. Oh, you didn't know about this?
No, fill me in.
Okay, so a while back, I can never pronounce her name right, but she was a guest on Story Wars. Beautiful Italian comedian. She's opening for Big J currently. Josie Marcelino, I think her last name is pronounced.
Okay.
She does a lot of cosplay. She was on She's been on the Whatever podcast, and she's gotten into it with Andrew Wilson. She hates him. He called her fat, which she's not fat. She's voluptuous and curvy, if anything.
Sure.
But she's very beautiful, very funny. I don't think she likes me all that much because our interactions haven't been pleasant on Twitter. But she, I think, like I want to say 2 months back, Swizzle, I think in an altered state, got on Facebook and DM'd her like, "Hey, what are you getting up to tonight? Do those big tits fart?" To the point where Sweeze made a video, like a compilation video about it, and it got talked about on Cornfed. It got talked about, I think, on maybe Real Ass Podcasts. Like there was a bunch of podcasts that talked about this, to the point where at first we're like, it's kind of fucked up, and then because she did not take it the right way.
Oh no!
But it's gotten to the point now where it's so absurd that it's funny, because like now I see people on Twitter going like, "Show me how the big tits fart." It's just so. No, I think it was something like you farting girl, like you fart, something with fart, and she was just like, "If I don't know what your," she responded to him like, "I don't know what your deal is, but like you're getting ready to get blocked." He's like, "I just want to know if those big tits fart," something to that effect. And I remember like in the beginning, everyone's like, "Can you believe he said this?" And like now it's to the point where like everyone gets it. Like, yeah, it's kind of funny. It's pretty funny.
It is really funny. I mean, I would, because I know Swizzle enough, I could seriously laugh over that, because he could say some really crazy stuff, and I'd be like, I'm for it. I'm along for the ride. And Sweeze is a little more reserved. But Sweeze's comedic genius is actually pretty good. Like when it's on point, man, it is hard to beat, and I will find myself cackling at some things. But yeah,
that Wendy's tweet.
But oh goodness gracious. I think I want to probably ask you about this. We're 220 in. We're doing pretty good here, Doug. What are some of your favorite moments while podcasting? Because I'm sure there's some awesome moments.
Interaction, most of it, like, it's funny because in the beginning I used to go back and rewatch our stuff, and I haven't done that in a long time. Like I tend to forget because there was moments where I would get really hammered and say some outlandish shit, and the only way I would know about it is if Sweeze clipped it the next day or the following week and put it on Twitter, and I'd be like, okay, I see the value in that, I see the humor in it, but like I don't remember it. And there got to be a point where like I would get drunk and say just some really horrendous, offensive things just because to be funny or to make my brother laugh or to make the guests laugh. So I don't really go back and watch it, and I don't know what my favorite moments in terms of like that would be, but I can say like in terms of the show overall, some of my, I don't know if I'd call them favorite moments, but like most proud moments that I was involved with that. Josh Eppard from Coheed and Cambria, the drummer, who I've interviewed before. I used to do a show with my best friend Bob in Florida. Well, he lives in Florida, but Bob is a photographer, and he's photographed like a lot of bands throughout his life. He's gotten really great access to shows, and one of the bands that we mutually got into at the same time at the formation of our friendship was Coheed and Cambria. And when I left Florida, like he ended up becoming friends with them, like on a personal level. And we used to do a show called Bob and Doug Save You from Boredom in the early days of the pandemic, and it only went for 1 or 2 seasons. But we interviewed Josh for like we ended up doing that was back before we streamed. We would actually record an interview, and then I would spend days editing it. I'm glad we just streamed now. I hate editing so much. It's so tedious.
It's rough.
But I would end up like we would have so much material that I would have to cut it up into like 3 episodes. And we did a 3 episode with Josh. We got to interview Scott Kloffenstein from Real Big Fish, and a great lyricist and musician in his own right. We've interviewed a lot of bands and stuff like that. But one of the guests that I enjoyed from that show that came on to Sibling Revelry in terms of favorite moment was Josh Eppard, the drummer for Coheed and Cambria. And it was kind of in a weird way. Like I booked the show, but Paul inadvertently got him to be a guest on the show because the Coheed and Cambria fan base is very, I'm trying to say this in the nicest possible way. They're good people. They love their fandom, but they're also very far left and do not want to hear any opposing opinions that conflict with their own beliefs.
Sure.
And Josh was having a tough time in the beginning of the pandemic I think it was during Biden's administration, where there was a lot of talk about banning certain weapons and guns. And my brother is, being a former Navy man, very free speech absolutist, very Second Amendment pro, has I wouldn't say an arsenal, but has a collection of guns and stuff like that. He believes in that stuff, and I'm the comic book video game movie nerd. I have a BB gun. That's about the extent of my weaponry.
Red Ryder?
And I do. I actually have a Red Ryder BB. It's hanging up behind me, right up there by my Wu-Tang hat.
That's awesome.
Yeah, when I was a kid, my dad got me that for Christmas, and it was when Christmas Story got commemorated on it being the 24-hour stream on TBS. They re-released it with like a gold plate placard into the butt of the gun, and that's the one I had from when I got from when I was like 8 or 9 years old.
Nice.
But my brother knows way more about that kind of stuff than I do. That's his world. And Josh Eppard was having like this back and forth with people during that time, wanting to know like the difference between like certain ammunition that people were trying to get banned and certain weapons. And my brother reached out to me. He's like, if you want to come on our show, I'd be happy to explain it to you. And he's like, book me, I'm done. And he wasn't following me at the time on Twitter. And my brother got him to follow me, and I booked him. And leading up to the show, like 3 weeks out, I have this habit of like reaching out to people like, hey, just reminding you, I know life can get busy, but like, we booked you for this date. Are you still cool for it? Or do you have shit that came up? And he's like, yeah, I'm cool for it. He's like, how long is it going to be? And I'm like, we tend to go like 3 to 4 hours. He's like, I didn't know I was signing up for the Joe Rogan experience. I can't do 3 to 4 hours. He's like, I can maybe do 20 minutes tops. After 20 minutes, like I run out of stories. And in my mind, when he said that to me in a DM, in my mind, I'm like, motherfucker, I interviewed you for 4.5 hours on another show I did. I know you have more than 20 minutes worth of stories. And so my brother, being the smarter of the two of us, reached out to him as like with a concession, like, how about we do a pre-record? Like, you don't have to come on live. We'll edit it and put it out as like a locals only subscriber thing, which is what we did. And Josh showed up for it, and we ended up doing exactly what I thought was going to happen. After 20 minutes came by, he's like, he was having such a good time with us that we went for 4.5 hours with Josh.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and my brother and him, Josh and I get along because Josh, we have similar music interests, but Josh is also a big horror movie nerd and big into comics. My brother is a big baseball fan, and Josh is from Kingston, New York, so he's a massive Mets fan. And like him and my brother, they got the weapon Second Amendment kind of conversation out of the way like within 40 minutes. And then Josh, they started talking about baseball. We started talking about music. Cool thing about him, in terms of favorite moments that I've had from the show, is he's not just the drummer for Coheed and Cambria. He had a rap career. He went under the name Weird Science, which anybody watching, I would recommend. If you like hip hop and rap, check out Weird Science. WEERD. Yeah, 2 E's, no I.
Okay.
Josh was an addict. That's where I bonded with him more than anything. The first time I interviewed him on Bob and Doug Save You from Boredom, is I had just gotten clean from 12 years of opiate abuse, and Josh had the same addiction. He was hooked on pills. And since the time we've interviewed him, like he had a documentary made about him. Like he now does like outreach work with addicts and stuff like that, helping them out and stuff. But Josh, his music albums solo under the hip hop moniker of Weird Science dealt with addiction. So like if you're somebody who's addicted to like opiates or pills or drugs of any kind, I would recommend listening to Weird Science because it's shit that you can identify with. He, on top of that, he did Coheed and Cambria, but also Josh is one of those rare cats where he's been in music since he was 16. Him and his brothers had a band, and I'm struggling to think of the name of the band off the top of my head, but they played the Woodstock 99, like the second Woodstock that happened where Limp Bizkit got the crowd to set shit on fire. Yeah. He was there for all that. He was 16 years old. So between the Bob and Doug show and Sibling Revelry, he's just a wealth of fucking historical music. And like, if you're a music nerd like I am, like stories about other bands, about festivals like Woodstock that just are amazing. He's personal friends with Matt Pinfield, who I'm told, and Matt has agreed to come on the show, but has never nailed down a date. But Matt Pinfield from MTV's 120 Minutes, from what Josh has told me, and other people I know who know Matt is like the Encyclopedia Britannica of music history. Like, wow. That dude knows everything, knows everybody. I was told that if we ever got him on as a guest, we would need at least 8 hours to get like the surface level of stories that guy has.
Oh my! And
I'm a huge music nerd, so like I love that kind of shit. And that's one of the best moments from our show is having Josh on, not just because I love him as a person, because he is just a genuinely good human being, but he just is a wealth of fucking stories musically. The other great moment from our show, and I said it before on our 200th episode when my brother asked me, is Alan Covert from Grandma's Boy. He was the first guest of like sincere, notable notoriety of like somebody you could throw Grandma's Boy out. Nobody doesn't know what that movie is.
It's
you know
such
what I mean?
A great movie. So underrated.
Incredibly underrated. One of the best pot comedies ever made.
One of my favorite movies. I will tell people I love Grandma Boy. So
it's phenomenal. And
it's a great movie.
Launching pad for Jonah Hill. Like, people forget Jonah Hill was in that when he was a nobody. But on top of that, like, he was also, I mean, he was in every Adam Sandler project up until like, I think the last 4 or 5 years. Like, he hasn't been in anything recent. He wasn't in Happy Gilmore 2, but he was the limo driver and best friend in The Wedding Singer. He was Happy Gilmore's caddy in Happy Gilmore 1. Like, he has been with Adam since like the early 90s, and getting him on, it was one of those things where I'm like, this guy's going to want to tap out after like 30 minutes to an hour with us. And he stayed for like 40 minutes, to the point where it was the only episode we did it for, because we could never get it to work after that. But we had like a call-in phone number that if you were watching the show, you could call in and talk to him and ask him questions.
Oh.
And it was the only episode we were ever able to get the software to work for. But like, people called in and asked him questions about his movies, his comedy, and all that stuff. So yeah, those would be like the two like moments that I look back on fondly when I'm done. I think, like, don't get me wrong, I love everybody we've interviewed. Even like, we've interviewed more people off Twitter that don't really like, they have something going on, but it's like to that level. We're like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I never in a million years thought like a touring artist with a band would want to come on, or an actor, comedian, writer would want to come on. And now like Alan Covert is like writing a movie with Roseanne Barr right now. It's like one of those weird things where it's like, how am I living the life that I'm living? Like, I'm not living that life, but like, I got a little taste of it, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting in that regards. And it's funny because in the beginning of the show, when I started booking guests for the show, I told Paul in the beginning, Paul, my brother, likes to say like, the show is you and me, the guest is just there for the conversation. But as time's gone on, it's become the point where it's like, let's try and get this person from Twitter on. I like their feed. I like the funny shit that they write. I'd like to get to know this person. That's how it started. And then it became like, fuck it, let's reach for the stars. I'll reach out to somebody on Twitter who's kind of famous and see what they say. And most of it's worked out, not all of it. Some of it falls through, but you know, we've had some pretty cool shit. Ellie Stockholm, getting to marry her on the show was a pretty great moment. Yeah, I love Ellie. She's so awesome. But yeah, I don't know, like, those would be my two like most proud moments I think that I had on the show. But overall, doing the show in itself is rewarding. There have been moments where like I didn't want to do it anymore. Like I got to a point where like I think I told my brother when I told him I wanted to take this 3-week break that we're on right now, like I'm like, I just feel like I don't have anything left to say. Like, we've been doing it for the last 4 or 5 years. Like, I feel like I've said everything I need to say. When I get on camera, I keep repeating the same stories, and I just don't feel like it's fresh. And then I have to remind myself, and Squeeze does as well, like, it's not just you. Like, you have a guest that comes on, and then I'm reminded, like, oh yeah, like I get to like hear somebody else's story. I don't have to fucking talk all the time. It's nice in that regard. So
yeah, like there's only so many times where I can repeat the same story. And I think what I really enjoy the most is, and one of the primary reasons why I wanted to do Unfiltered was it was a chance to bring on my friends and then people I've met through my time on the internet and through my time on Twitter, and be like, let's just do a show and we'll just shoot the breeze and and we'll do our best to have some fun. And
totally.
And we could tell about our life experiences. And I mean, when I was on Corn Fed, I kind of felt like I was the choir boy compared to you know, compared to you and Dalton and Dave and Ellie. And I'm just like sitting there and I'm like looking at the camera being like, you know, okay, all right, cool. Like I'm here for it, you know, and, but like to get like my good friends on, like to bring on Kale and to bring on Rex and to bring on Rick, and Rick's been multiple episodes and there's constantly new stuff like we could talk about. Like we probably won't cover all the bases today, but eventually it's like, Doug, I think we need to talk about movies and comic books for like 2-3 hours, you know?
Buddy, I will be happy to come on and talk about comic books and movies for 3 hours with you. If you want to really open me up and not get me to shut up, that's the way to do it. But I do get what you're saying though. Like I've said this to my brother. My brother is my best friend, but my two best friends in life are my buddy Bob and my buddy John. And John has been on our show countless times. He's going to be our returning guest on April 4th. And in the beginning of the show, I believe I've said this to Paul, and I don't think I've ever said it out loud past like the one time that I said it to him. But like when I invited John on, it started becoming a thing where like I would invite him on like once a month. And my brother was like, we need to invite other people on. And I'm like, yeah, but like John is what, like you said, like you want to bring people on and expose your audience to these people that you think are funny, that you love. I honestly believe that John Capozzo, my buddy John, he goes by Ouija John on Twitter.
Ouija John.
I honestly believe, and he's never on there. He's on Facebook more than he is Twitter. But I've known John for 20 plus years, and in my life, he is one of like the 3 people I can honestly say I believe to be like truly naturally funny. Like I talked about Dalton being naturally funny. John is naturally funny. John is one of these guys that like it's amazing and I know he's happy with what he does, but I'm like, you should be doing more. Like as funny as you are, you should be doing more. And I think in the beginning, like that's why I wanted to have him on so much, because he just makes me laugh over absolute nonsense and nothing. And I'm like, I want other people to see this. I can't be the only one that sees this. You know what I mean? So like, yeah. I get what you're saying about bringing your friends on and for that particular purpose. Like I do, like, I don't mind talking, especially when I get a few of these in me. Like I have no problem going on and on and on, but like, there are people that I think need to be exposed. We had a friend of ours, a friend of our show, for like the last 4 years. He unfortunately and sadly passed away December 27th. But the Randy Ravis on Twitter, the Randy Ravis, was one of our longest people that was always in chat every Saturday night, and truly the funniest Twitter account I've ever followed. And even though he's gone, I recommend following his Twitter account, the Randy Ravis, Ravis. He wanted to be a writer in life, and he worked a regular job like we all do. And I've always said, like, you are the kind of guy that should be a writer, because he's just naturally gifted with funny thoughts and the way he writes things. And his Twitter is a shining example of that. And he happened to pass away, unfortunately, last December. We had a memorial episode for him, and his long-term girlfriend and stepchildren showed up in chat. It was really wonderful. But I mean, again, we had him on a bunch of, and it's funny because he was naturally one of the funniest people I've ever met. And he was an insanely good writer, but anytime we had him on the show, he'd just sit in front of the camera and stare. Like he never opened up, you know what I mean? But he's one of those guys where I'm like, I want you on the show as much as possible, because I cannot be the only person to see your genius. And that's exactly what Randy was. Randy was a comedic genius. I'm telling you, if you go check out his Twitter and just scroll back, it's just, I've been going through like once every week, 2 weeks, pinning old tweet, because I that's how I mourn. I go back through his Twitter and I just find shit that makes me laugh to remind me to not forget about him. Yeah. And I will pin like one tweet. Certain tweets will get me, and I'm pinning that to my profile for at least a week or two, because other people need to see this shit. And that's who Randy was. But that is really like the genesis, I think, of what you're talking about. Like just lift people up, man. Like there are people I know should be more than what they are, and I want to expose them to as many people as possible. Yeah. Like,
Goodness gracious. Yeah. I mean, Rick is one of those people. You know, if you can't get Rick going for like, at least several hours on professional wrestling, you can get him going on comic books and movies for like another 2 hours. And the cool thing with Rick is he's like, if something ever comes up, I'm on call. I'm always available for you, and which is awesome. And he did come up with the Wolverine as a cuck meme. Like, he came up with that. Like, and he gave me reasoning. He was like, you know, he sims for Jean Grey, but Jean Grey goes for everybody but Wolverine.
Yep.
And
it's true.
And it's true. And yeah, because Wolverine can never be happy. But by the way, Drew, welcome back. Always good to see Drew. Always good to see him. And then another person I always thought was, I always have to look back. I wish I could get Sweeze on more often. Just the schedule's always butt up. And then I think another person I thought was really kind of, I would say, knocked it out of the park. Like, CJ is very interesting. I mean, like, I like to get CJ back on Unfiltered just so he can tell more of like his story of like being really successful on YouTube. Where now it's like he's trying to make a comeback, and I'm like, okay, all right, how can we get CJ's audience back? And that's a big one. And the crazy thing is people remember CJ and they want to collab with CJ now. Where I'm just like, my purpose has become, hey, I am the great connector. I am the great glue that brings everybody back together, and I'm here for it. If that's my purpose, I'm down.
There's nothing wrong with that, man.
No, there's nothing wrong.
Being the shepherd.
Yeah. But Duke Cornell, I think, is he, while he's a wrestler, that dude has such a comedic genius to him, and he has really funny stories. And some of my favorite ones, and I remember it was me, my good friend Craig, my other good friend Adam Carter, and Duke Cornell. When he was just starting out, we would sit around in the basement and we'd share stories. And he'd share me a story about Hollywood James Cavender, where he was this little tiny skinny wrestler that believed he was like a cross between Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes.
Dusty Rhodes is my favorite wrestler of all time. I have his action figure hanging up on the wall behind me. I love Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, Dusty Rhodes, baby.
You don't know about hard times, Daddy.
They were nights where I dined with kings and queens, and there were other nights where I dined on nothing but pork and beans.
You don't know what hard times is. Hard times is when the textile factory closes down. You got no job, Daddy.
Man, that's pretty good.
I loved it. I got to see Dusty once in my life when he was alive as a kid. My dad used to take my brother and I to, we grew up here in Michigan before moving to Florida. And back in the day, Green Bay, Wisconsin's like a 2-hour drive south from us. And the Brown County Arena, it's something different now. But back in the day, WWF used to come all the time. And my dad would take us. My brother went more than I did. My brother was friends with this autistic kid in the small little neighborhood we lived in who would get to go to like all these great wrestling shows, and he'd get front row seats, and he would take my brother with him. My brother got Bret the Hitman Hart's glasses put on his head as a kid,
so cool.
At one of these events.
Wow.
But my dad took us to see one, and we got to see Coco Beware and Dusty Rhodes when he was wearing the yellow polka dot, and he had Miss Sapphire with him. It was one of the best nights. He is my favorite wrestler of all time. I love Dusty Rhodes. I love the entire blue collar personality.
Yeah. And then Duke also told the story of like Tim Rhodes, and Tim Rhodes is a different character all to himself. And I'll have maybe someday, like, Duke comes back and he tells me more about how he ran into these characters. Hollywood was crazy. I remember I think he went out to Oregon, and then we never heard from him since. But he went up and tried to hit on a girl in Burger King. He was like, let me rub my hand through your pubic hair. And she proceeded to kick him out of Burger King. And it's
a wild statement to make.
Yeah, let me run my hand through your pubic hair. But he did that, and then the other thing that Hollywood would do is whenever he would get hit, like, he was friends with this tinier kid called Frankie, and he'd be like, "Ow, ow, Flaky," like during the middle of the match. And I think the last one I'll share, which is like a quick and dirty story about Hollywood James Cavender, is he had a match against Duke, and Duke, this is just the beginning of the match, and Hollywood gives him a big boot, I'm gonna give you a big boot, and Duke's like, this is the beginning of the match. Well, I ran out of ideas, he didn't have anything else to do, so I'm just gonna give you a big boot. And then his dad was he was kind of autistic. He was on the spectrum, but his dad pretended that he was Bill Goldberg.
My least favorite wrestler. I fuck Goldberg. I hate Goldberg so much. He ruined Bret Hart's career. That piece of shit. Yeah,
he ended Bret's career. It made Bret a bitter old man.
He very much did.
Yeah, but the funny part is his dad literally speared his son through like a wall. It was just and he's like, "Fuck you, Bill Goldberg," and his dad's like, "Bah!" It was so ridiculous and over the top. But that's the only. I mean, if there's one thing I could care about with Bill Goldberg, was this guy thought he was Bill Goldberg and speared his own son through a wall. So, I mean, there's that.
I gave my brother the Razor's Edge when we were kids. My brother and I were massive Razor Ramon fans as kids. And it's one of the reasons why we're not on YouTube. Like, we actually, when Scott Hall died, my brother put together this amazing outro package to the episode where he eulogized Scott Hall through clips and shit. WWE hit us on YouTube with copyright strikes. That was like the nail in the coffin for my brother. Like, we're going to Rumble, fuck YouTube. Yeah. And he appealed it and they would not budge. It's like, this is material that you put out. How can you copyright strike fans who are trying to pay respects to somebody they loved? But as kids, we loved Tatanka, Yokozuna, Doink the Clown,
new generation. Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. I love Swedes because Swedes is such a mass, and I love Kenny the Strangle Chef because they're massive. They stay in current wrestling, whereas I kind of dip my toes in it. Like when Cody Rhodes came in, like I paid attention to that. Mm-hmm. John Cena's last match, I paid attention. I love John Cena. He follows me on Twitter, oddly enough. I think he follows everybody personally. But my generation, like, to me, the last great wrestling was like the Attitude Era. Like, I got out of it before Ruthless Aggression, and my last era was like Stone Cold, Rock, Mankind. But my golden era that I look back fondly is Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, Doink the Clown, Yokozuna, Razor Ramon. So when we were kids, my brother and I would wrestle all the time, and he's a much more massive wrestling fan than I am. He's on the level that Sweeze is on. Like, he actually gets along with Sweeze very well when it comes to like keeping up on wrestling and being able to like speak, whereas I'm more comic books, movies, and games.
Yeah.
And when we were kids, we would wrestle, and I remember getting my brother out. He's 5 years younger than me, and I was like maybe 12. So he would have been 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. He would have been 7. And he couldn't take, like, anytime he'd cry because I did something to him, I would get in trouble for it. But I put that little fucker on my back and I threw him forward, and his fucking shoulders smacked the carpet. It was the best. It was the best. It was the best. When it comes to wrestling, it's funny, like doing our show, we've only had one wrestler on the show, and I said I'd get him back, and it's been probably 2 years, and I do want to get him back. We still follow each other on Twitter, but King Tech is an independent wrestler. I forget the organization that he wrestles for, but he was a great guy. He's a big movie nerd, big horror movie nerd, really cool to talk to. Like, I love wrestling, and I just like, I happen to like old wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really. Every now and then Sweeze will get me juiced up and jonesed up with the way he talks about certain wrestlers and stuff, to where I will go and watch, and I get into it, but it's not the same as it was when I was a kid. And Sweeze, I know you're watching. I love you. You truly are like a brother to me. But women's wrestling is the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of mankind, and I will fight that to my day. He's always gonna be like, I love it because in the beginning of Sweez being a part of our show and like being in the background and commentating, Sweez would make periodic tweets where it's like, he put up a clip of like women's wrestling's like, and Doug's out here just hating on women's wrestling. I'm like, yeah, there's nothing I find fascinating about this. Bring me Luna Vachon, bring me Miss Elizabeth, bring me, all the wrestlers the female wrestlers I was into. I can't get into half of these. I can look at Rhea Ripley and find exactly what everybody else finds attractive about her. But if you wanted me to sit down for 40 minutes and watch her in a match, I'd rather watch paint dry on a wall, dude.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I guess it depends on the women's wrestler, for me anyways. But yeah, like, I think I got out of the product probably like a few years ago and I haven't really gotten back into it. I used to be really big into the, when I was a little kid, I always loved Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Randy Savage.
Hell yeah.
And then I got out of it for a while, and then I went back into it. Like at first it was WCW. Oh, WCW. Yeah. And then I was huge into the Attitude era. Like I would religiously watch Monday Night Raw, and then Sunday Superstars. Superstars on Sunday as the recap show, and then I got out of it again in high school. Until I got out of high school, where my best friend Craig got me back into wrestling around the Ruthless Aggression era. And that's where I became really rabid and kind of smart online. And that's where I found my first independent show. And guess who headlined the first independent show I went to? Jerry Lynn, who is now a mutual friend between awesome. Me and Rick. And Jerry, who works for AEW as a road agent, he calls Rick, once a month and gripes about AEW, but he needs some catharsis. He likes the job, but the wrestling business, the industry has changed so much.
Oh yeah.
That, and you almost feel bad for Jerry Lynn because he was fantastic, and I got to know him. He came to Amarillo a few times, and when I was training to be in pro wrestling, I was supposed to have a program with Jerry Lynn, and then the blow off was me taking the cradled pile driver from Jerry Lynn, and I was like, dude, I would have been totally on board. I would have been more than happy to do it. And but when you talk to Jerry talks about wrestling for maybe like out of the entire day, maybe 5 minutes. Everything else is like horror movies, rock, like death metal, rock music, like music, movies, comic books, and places he's been. And
hell yeah.
That's Jerry Lynn. And he is a man of high culture, I think. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, he's amazing. One of my goals is maybe to get Jerry Lynn on and have Rick on there too, so Jerry feels nice and comfortable with being on. But yeah, I think it costs money to get him, but just to get him to hop on and talk for 2 hours, I'd be totally down.
Never hurts to try, dude.
Nope. And I think not so much this season, because I still have like a bucket list of people I want to bring on. But I think season 3, I'm going to start swinging for the fences and start going after big fish and being like, okay, and then blend it all in with my friends from season 1 and season 2 and just, make it really fun, because
why not, dude?
Because that's all it is. It's just having fun.
Exactly, dude. I would like to get some wrestlers on the show. Like, I would love to get John Cena on the show. I know that's never going to happen. I'd love to get Cody Rhodes on the show. I know that's never going to happen. But it's funny, like a lot of the wrestlers that I wish I could get on aren't with us anymore. I would love to get Terry Funk. I would love to interview Dusty Rhodes. I'd love to interview Al Snow, who's still with us, but I don't know if he'd ever do a show, a podcast. But like my wrestling, the era of wrestling I truly love is when like It is. It's the Gen X era. It's like the shit you can't get away with now, where you have Akeem, the African Dream, who's just a white guy pretending to be an African.
Yeah.
Like, I love the craziness of the late 80s, early 90s wrestling. But I also love like the ruggedness of the 70s and the early 80s wrestling too, you know. But at the same time, I would just love to talk to anybody, you know, realistically. I don't know. You're talking about ruthless aggression. It's funny, like where I am at now when it comes to wrestling, because Sweeze has tried to get me into stuff, and we have watched certain things for the show because of Sweeze's recommendation. But the era I came up in was so flashy and cartoony and just over the top that I don't feel like they do that anymore. The stuff that interests me now that specifically WWE does is like the background shit. Like there's a show called oh God, something. I can't even think of the name of it now. That's in its second season. But it's basically like they break kayfabe. It's a documentary style show where they take you behind the scenes and show you them writing up the matches and writing out the storylines. That's what fascinates me more than anything. Like I would much rather watch that than the actual matches.
Oh, sure.
I can't remember the name of the show that's on Peacock. Sweeze turned me on to it, and I can't believe I'm struggling to think of it now. But the first season was about like Cena's final tour and trying to make who's the wrestler? Yeet.
Was that Jey Uso or Jimmy Uso?
Jey Uso, thank you,
yeah.
Jey Uso. They were trying to make Jey Uso like a big star, and he fumbled the ball. Like, but there was eye show speed, like him getting hammered in the ring. Like, it was all from the perspective of behind the scenes and stuff. That I find more fascinating. Like, as I've gotten older, like when I was a kid, it was easier to buy into the horseshit story. As I get older, I'm more fascinated by how the sausage is made. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's how people get into, like, you know, how, what was it that it wasn't Modern Marvels. It was like how it was made. And and those shows were always cool. Like, it's like, all right, how is this made? Like how do they go in creating like potato chips, or how do they go in creating Coca-Cola without giving away, you know, all the ingredients, or how they go about in processing, you know, X, Y, and Z. So
it was my favorite thing about when DVDs came along. That was my favorite aspect of owning a DVD, getting my first DVD player and buying my first DVDs, was all of the bonus features on like the making of it. Like, yeah, I love Phantasm, but I want to see how that shit was made. I was so fascinated by how like props and special effects and rubber monsters were created with animatronics. Like, I love that kind of shit. Like, as a kid, you're more you gravitate more towards the product itself and the story and the characters. But like as I get older, maybe it's just me, maybe it's everybody, but like I want to see how that shit's made. Like, I'm fascinated by how people's brains work and how they come up with the stuff. It's cool as shit to me.
Yeah, like I think another thing that sticks out is like there used to be a show, I don't know if it was on A&E or not. It was like it was like Movie Magic. And they take you behind the scenes of the movie and how they would do it, and like how they would pull off, like, you know, some CGI, or hey, how do you do the big explosions or whatever. The other one that really sticks out, and it's off the tip of my tongue, is while I'm thinking of it, I'll read off of what Drew's got. I have a book, The Way Things Work, Volume 1 and 2, an illustrated encyclopedia of technology. Ooh,
nice.
That's nice. Drew, I think, is very interesting. Like, he's probably...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Drew.
He constantly retweets our shit on Twitter, and I love him. And one day I'm gonna reach out to him if he's willing. I would love to have Drew come on as a guest.
Yeah. Yep. Sweeze has him on the I think on the short list of like, hey, here's who you need to bring on. So
it's funny, a lot of the people that I've booked over the last year, it's because of Sweeze's recommendation. Like, Sweeze will reach out to me, you need to get this guy. Broseph Smith came on, and my brother and I didn't. I mean, I follow Broseph Smith, but I like I said, I get so busy with life and work and that I pay attention in like 15 to 30 minute increments when I'm at home relaxing, you know, on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And Sweeze is like, you gotta get this guy on. This guy's great. And then we had Broseph on, and my brother's like, I don't know anything about this guy. I'm like, me neither. It'll be an adventure. And then before I knew it, we were an hour before we even got into each other's weeks. We were an hour. My brother is a religious nerd. Like, he studies scripture and shit. And Joseph comes from like a Mormon background. So like it was an hour and a half at the beginning of the show of just my brother and Broseph talking about like Mormon religion and the history of Joseph Smith and shit. And I'm like, it's awesome. Like I love meeting people that you don't necessarily know, but then you, as you start to talk to them, you're like, holy shit, like this is fascinating as hell. I never would have guessed I would have gotten this out of this person, you know?
Right.
It's cool as fuck.
Yeah.
Like Ellie Stockholm was, Ellie's a great example. Like my brother has that mind for business like a business minded aspect, you know? And when Ellie came on, my brother spent a good hour talking to her about like tax write-off because my brother hates the federal government, much like most of us do.
Yeah, most.
And before we went live, Ellie was like pulling something out. My brother, we were like, "What's that?" She's like, "Oh, this is my electronic douche." And I'm like, "I didn't even know they made electronic douches." And she's like, "Yeah." And as soon as we went live, my brother's like, "So we were talking earlier before we got into a discussion of taxes and the federal government." And my brother's like, "Earlier before you brought it, you pulled out your electric douche." He's like, "I'm willing to bet for your line of work that was a tax write-off." She's like, "You better believe it was."
Hell
like,
yeah. Anything you could do to get the tax write-off, I mean, by all means, like. But Drew's met Broseph IRL. He rules. So
I believe it. I've only gotten to talk to him for like 3 hours, and he ruled.
Yeah.
And he does a show with Dave Wright on Saturdays, because now that Broseph doesn't have his regular job, he's selling stuff on eBay. Dave sells stuff on Amazon. My brother has an eBay store that he's been doing for the last year. And he does a YouTube channel where he like teaches people how to like make a profit off of selling things on eBay. He breaks down like all of like the financial aspects of it. And over the last couple of weeks, like my brother has become like an inadvertent third mic on their show that they do on Saturdays between Broseph and Dave Wright. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah,
actually.
Just fascinating people altogether. I mean, I'm a big fan of Dave, like really big fan of Dave the Stinker. Dave Wrong the Stinker. But yeah, like I always wanted to like, and I think I need to bring Dave back on the show, and I'd be like, how the heck did you find Dalton, or how the heck did Dalton find you? And I think that's what's interesting with our sphere is there's a lot of interesting people. Like it's just now
For
it's
sure.
like, can we bring them on and can we have them share their story? Which, as long as Drew is semi-sober, he's down. And and then I probably need to reach out to Broseph Smith. That would be a pretty good get. So,
Broseph is truly one of the coolest people I've ever like. Like I said, I had no real concept of who he was or anything about him before we went into the show, and like I told you earlier, like the mark of a good guest is that when we go past our 3 hour mark, that's a good guest. It means we don't want to stop talking. Mm-hmm. I think we did like 4.5 hours with Broseph. Like I would have kept going if I wasn't so fucking tired, but Broseph is a very fascinating guy who has a very fascinating history and family history when it comes to like Mormonism, shit like that. He's so knowledgeable on scriptures. And as I get older, I'm more fascinated by stuff like that, you know, whereas a kid, I didn't give a shit about religion, but the older I get, like it's fascinating to meet people who have like lived their life kind of in it, you know?
Yeah. Well, and then you have Dave, who's like, you know, Greek. So he's got that Eastern Orthodox.
Yay. Yay.
Gay. He's gay.
We all know Plato and Socrates molested boy butt, but I love you, Dave. Even though you are a vegan, I still love you. I do. I love Dave.
Oh, I love Dave too. But I think what we need to do, I'm gonna wrap it up because now we're over the 3 hour mark.
Sure. I'm not the mark of a good guest for 4.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Kidding.
The mark of a great guest is 4 hours, but no, I really, I need to. What we need to do is, I'll be in touch with you.
Sure.
And we interact with each other all the time on Twitter, anyways.
I will.
Greeks don't fuck men, only boys.
Exactly. That's my point. They're creeps.
Man.
They make good food. They have good philosophy. That's as far as it goes.
That's as far as they go. But other than that, like the only time where they really came together is like to fight Persians, and that's about it. Otherwise, they all fight if they're not fighting an invading force, they're fighting each other. So, there's that. But yeah,
Holy bastards.
Yeah, them crazy Greeks.
I will absolutely reach out to you, if not tomorrow, this week, and I will get you booked on because I've got a few guests booked up, I think, until May. But you will definitely, if you're willing, you'll come on Sibling Revelry. And before I forget, it's something I forgot to say, and I like to give proper shout outs.
Yeah.
But when I was talking about how cool it is that people make shit for the show, like that's what I value, like the dude that made the stickers. I have to shout out Daniel Romano. Mm-hmm. Daniel Romano is a massive, super Mighty Morphin Power Ranger fan that we met on Twitter. He's become one of our good friends. He painted, this is a good example of people who love your shit, painted this painting of me and my brother doing Michelangelo's David.
Yeah.
And he made me look way better than I should look and way more fat That's slob. Awesome. But shout out Daniel, shout out Swede, shout out Kenny the Strangle Chef, shout out Jason Zod, John Hunter, the Trash Podcast, anybody who fucks with us, who fucks with Tyler's podcast. You guys are awesome, and thank you for having me on.
Oh, you betcha. And by the way, shout out Sumo Dog.
Shout out Sumo Dog.
No podcast would be complete without a shout out to Sumo Dog. So Sumo Bear, we love you, dude. We love you.
I do. He's such a good boy.
He is the internet's best boy. But yeah, definitely. When we get together next, we need to talk movies. And one of these days, I need to get you and Rick together on Unfiltered, and then we just go crazy with movies and comics, because I think you would do really well with Rick. So.
I love talking I love talking movies for sure, but I love talking comic books. Like that is where my happy spot is. Matter of fact, as soon as we go off live, I'm going to order a pizza from the bar down the road, and I'm going to open up my tablet and I'm going to read comic books.
So before we go, what titles are you reading right now?
Well, it's funny. I bought a Samsung Galaxy tablet on a Black Friday sale last year. Prior to last Christmas, I was recollecting old comics that I loved that I'd forgotten about, but I was collecting like the graphic novel and the omnibus forms. I did start buying single issues, and then I realized like I can't afford to keep collecting all these series that I want to recollect. Like I just don't have the money. So I bought a tablet and started figuring out how to download digital comics. And in the beginning of all of this, it was like, I want to reread all the shit that I loved in my 20s and 30s. And I didn't really give a shit about modern stuff, because from what I can tell, most of the modern stuff is kind of like been very woke. DC in particular is very, very like hard left. And I don't really care about politics. Like I just want a good story.
Yep.
And the more I started doing the tablet thing, I started paying attention to people that I love. Like I'm a big Wu-Tang fan, and Method Man. I'm sorry. Method Man was on a podcast the tail end of last year where he was talking. Somebody asked him, like, do you still read comics? He's like, no, I'm kind of too busy with doing what I do, but like there are some modern comics I read. And they're like, well, what's one that you would recommend? He said, Absolute Batman by Scott Snyder. And I love Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder, I have his entire run of Batman behind me.
Yeah.
It's one of the best Batman runs, but I'm much like Stephen King, like his online politics kind of soured me to like wanting to keep up with them. And when Method Man started talking about Absolute Batman, I'm like, this kind of sounds interesting. I'll give it a shot. And I started reading that to the point where I started reading Absolute Superman, Absolute Green Lantern, Absolute Flash. And what it is DC is doing like this new universe within their infinite multiverse, where it's the absolute universe. It's your characters that you know, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Superman, but it's in a modern take. Like we all know the history of Batman. Bruce Wayne watches his parents get gunned down, grows up to learn martial arts and use his wealth to like fight crime in Gotham. This version, Bruce Wayne wasn't a wealthy kid. His dad was a doctor who got gunned down in front of him at a zoo in front of his friends, and decided to dedicate his life to just fighting crime. And he has no money. Mm-hmm. Well, he grew up poor and he had to figure out all of this shit on his own. What's cool about it is all of the Rogues Gallery villains, like the Riddler, Harvey, Two-Face, Harvey Dent, the Penguin, they were all his childhood friends. And as the book goes on, you see how they become his villains because of his actions as Batman. His enemies being Batman turn them into the villains that we all know. So it's an interesting take, and I would say absolute Batman, absolute Flash, absolute Green Lantern are really phenomenal.
Okay,
those are the modern ones that I'm reading right now. Marvel, I haven't read any of the new stuff, but I'm currently going back and rereading like a lot of Donny Cates' Cosmic Ghost Rider. I'm reading old series that I like to reread old stuff that I loved when I was younger.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where I'm at now. But I have to. I'd be remiss if I didn't recommend the Absolute Universe. I was so against based on Scott Snyder, and it's one of those examples where it's like, don't have a bias. Like, give something a shot. You never know if you're going to like it or not, and it's pretty fantastic.
Sure, absolutely. And then I think I'm going to sound off of what Drew's putting in. He used to read Alien and Alien versus Predator comics. I used to read Alien versus Predator. Like the first,
you're right, Drew. They are Dark Horse.
Yeah, they're Dark Horse, and now both of them went over to Marvel because of the Disney buyout. So, but yeah, like I used to read a lot of Alien versus Predator before the furries really kind of corrupted it. I used to read a lot of Sonic the Hedgehog when I was a kid.
Nothing wrong with that, dude.
Yeah, Archie Sonic. And I stopped after I think I stopped after issue 30, and then not issue 30, but issue 50, and then they made like 500 more issues, and I was like, no.
You said Archie. It's funny because I have gotten back into Kevin Smith stuff, and Kevin Smith just wrote a Jay and Silent Bob meets Archie comic that's really good. That like the Archie artwork is all there. But you were asking. I'll let you close this out, but like you did ask it, and I've forgotten about it. But another modern comic that I started reading that is really good, and I believe it's not Dark Horse. I think it's Boom Studios, or no, maybe it might even be his own imprint, Smodcast Comics. But Kevin Smith started doing a series of books called Quick Stops, where it's anthology. Each issue, it's like 5 or 6 issues. There's 3 volumes out, so like 15 books, maybe a little more. And each issue is like an anthology told, like a story told within the movies that he's made, like Chasing Amy, Dogma, Mallrats. It's all new stories, and they're just like these little tiny self-contained stories that like detail background parts of the movies. It's really well done too.
That's neat. And then let's see. I've been getting into more manga. And then as far as comics, like I usually Aliens versus Predator. And then,
it's a good book.
Yeah, which is fantastic books. I had like the first omnibus, and I was like, that's all I need.
I have a couple single issues of that series. I have a bunch of the Terminator RoboCops that Dark Horse did, and I have the entire run of Now Comics. Back in the day, they used to make Married with Children, and nice. They did Fright Night Comics, but Now Comics did a Terminator run in the late 80s. I just finally collected the entire run of single issues of that. That cost me $80 to get that entire set. But
oh my god,
I love Terminator.
Yeah. There's some, especially I thought they could have done RoboCop versus Terminator as a standalone movie and been, and made hand over fist. But then again, what do we know? So
couldn't have been any worse than Freddy versus Jason.
Oh yeah,
what a turd that was.
Oh, it was bad. But anywho, we'll save those discussions for another day. Doug, the Immortal Iron Thuglas, thank you so much for being on Unfiltered.
Thank you for having me, dude.
Thank you for enlightening me about the gospel of cool and chill.
Show me how the big tits fart, Tyler.
Yeah. Show me how tits fart.
You be farting? You be farting?
Yeah. I just know, like, when I was a kid, I used to, like, you used to put your hand underneath your like knee and then like make your knee fart. Yeah, that was
my armpits.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big thing. But later on tonight, stay tuned. We have a new episode of Crash Out Connoisseurs. It'll be me, CJ, and special guest McGillicuddy. We're going to dive into the wacky world of Truther 777, which is this religious weird guy, and he dances with his shirt off, and he just and he yells at his chat, which is so good. So I'm gonna have Mac kind of introduce us to him a little bit, and then next Sunday we'll have Ryan Justice on. He was my co-host. Well, I was his co-host for the Extra Point where we talked about NFL football. He's going to talk about NFL free agency, and he's not privy to the draft, but along with sportsball, we're going to talk wrestling, and we're going to hype up Squared Circle Pro's upcoming show, Collision Course. My goodness, that is a mouthful. And then Lord Diaz, he is going to be on tap for Easter Sunday. So yeah, a lot of really good stuff coming down the pipe.
Nice.
And plenty more Crash Out connoisseurs. And then, along with having Laura on Unfiltered, he'll be on Crash Out next Thursday. So yeah, it's never a dull moment in the world of podcasting and putting on shows. It's never a dull moment. Truth. Yeah.
I would also be remiss. My brother would kill me if I didn't say, check out Sibling Revelry on Saturdays at 7. If you can't make it, we're Central Standard Time. If you can't make it, you can watch the replay, but, we're on break until April 4th. We'll be coming back with Ouija John, my buddy John Capozzo. I do a show periodically. You can check out on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter at Douglas is a dope. I do 2 shows, The Dugout, which is a movie watch along, and I do Self-Loathing with Thuglas. And I would also recommend checking out Killing Time with Paul on Rumble and Twitter. It's a show my brother does on Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays. Monday, he currently is rewatching The Wire in its entirety with an audience. Wednesday, they do a movie watch along where the audience that hangs out with him on Monday votes. They pick in like the top 100 IMDb lists, and whatever you guys vote on wins, they watch. And Friday is kind of like a mixed bag. Sometimes he plays Jackbox games with the audience. Sometimes he has a guest on, but check that out. And thank you again for having me on, dude. This has been a lot of fun.
You betcha. And I've had a blast. I mean, we could probably chat for another 2 hours.
Dude, if you let me take another piss break and grab a couple more White Claws, I'd go for another 2 hours.
I know you would. I'm probably going to go get me a soda and probably get something to eat in me, and then I got to get ready for Crash Out. Yeah, got to love the double shot Sundays. Yeah. But this has been Unfiltered, Season 2. Episode 1. There's Paul. Oh, okay. Wow.
Paul 428. Paul at Jesus Apostolic Church. Jesus God. What a brother. I don't even know if this is my brother, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think so. But hey, more the power to you. It's a Sunday. But no, we're gonna sign out. Doug, enjoy your week.
Likewise, brother.
Enjoy your spring break that's coming up.
I can't wait.
Yeah, and if you need some company during spring break, man, hit me up. I'll make myself.
Oh yeah, dude. If you want to come on a movie watch along with me, I'll be happy to have you on.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, we'll definitely be in touch. And then I think one final note to make. Doug, where can they find you? Well, I mean, you already said where they can find you on Twitter, but I'll say it. You can find him on X at Douglas is a dope. And please, it's not dope in a bad way. It's a dope in a good way. So
I'm self-deprecating. I chose that name for a reason.
Gotcha. Well, okay, awesome. Hey, to everyone who's on the live stream right now, to everyone who's gonna check out the VOD, hey, y'all have a great week, great start to the week. Start strong, finish well, or at least finish. As long as you survive, that's all that matters to us.
Amen.
Until next time, man, y'all have a good one. We'll see y'all soon.
Peace.